evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of November 5th, 2024. The first order of business is approval of the minutes of the October 1st meeting. So we'll go around. Does anybody have any comments regarding the meeting, Mr. Landry?
No comment.
Any comments? Okay. Mr. Lanfear?
No comments, thank you.
Okay. I have no comments either, so I make a motion that we approve the minutes of October 1st, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second. Oh, wait, can I second? I can't. Even though I did.
Second. All in favor? Okay, that's approved. Moving right on, we have a few orders of old business. The first one is subdivision. Matthew Webster, Van Dusen and Steve's Land Surveyors, presenting for Terry Walton, owner of the parcel commonly known as 579 and 575 Glen Street, seeking planning board review and approval of a lot line adjustment. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, we're just requesting to table the
Can I have
project.
your name for the record, please?
Yes, Matt Webster with Van Dusen and Steve's Land Surveyors. On behalf of our client, Dr. Terry Walton, we would just like to table this project until the January meeting.
Somebody have any comments about that?
No.
Okay.
Just table to January.
We'll table till January. Make a
Perfect.
motion to table the project of 579 and 575 Glen Street until January 2025.
Perfect. Should I just wait for the next one too?
Yeah, sure.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay, you're here for number 2 as well?
Yes.
Okay. Second on the old business is a subdivision, Arlington Street subdivision, Van Dusen and Steve's Land Surveyors, presenting for Clue Enterprises, owners of the tax map commonly known as 34 to 40 Arlington Street, seeking planning board review and approval to propose 3-lot residential subdivisions for single-family homes.
Once again, Matthew Webster with Van Dusen and Steve's Land Surveyors, here on behalf of our client, Clue Enterprises. We would also request to just table this project until the January meeting as well.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve tabling it, the Arlington Street subdivision, commonly known as 34 to 40 Arlington Street, until January 2024. Anybody second? All in favor? Okay. Passes. Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
in January. The third item on the agenda is sketch plan review for 579 Sherman Avenue LLC. Owners of tax map commonly known as 579 Sherman Avenue, seeking planning board sketch plan review to construct multifamily residential development of 4-story, 32 apartment units. Is there anyone here to represent the applicant?
They requested to table.
Okay, so the applicant has requested we table that one.
December 3rd.
To December. So I'll make a motion that we table this project until December 3rd, 2024 planning board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Number 4 is site plan review for Washington Square project. Applicant Patent Property Development Corporation, owner of tax map commonly known as 10, 12, 16 Harlem Street, 13 East Notre Dame Street, 399, 91, and 369 Glen Street, seeking site plan review for new construction of 54 one-bedroom residential apartment units. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, I'm John Lapper with project architect Ethan Hall and project engineer Tom Center. And for the record, I'm here in a dual capacity as a member of the seller, One Washington Street Development, and also representing Patent Properties, the applicant. So we were here for a sketch plan last month, and I'll just go over, since this is the formal record, where we were. The project has changed a lot since you first saw it in August. At that point, it required area variances and a rezoning. It's been redesigned to reduce the number of units, reduce the area, and most importantly, change the architecture as the board and members of the public had requested. So now it is, as of right, just requiring planning board review and architectural review. We think it's a better project and certainly a better looking project. Chris was responsive. There have been some comments about landscaping, and I think since the project started, you can see what happened with his Washington and Harlem Street project, which is now completed, and the landscaping is pretty nice and pretty well received. I mean, he really went out of the way, and what Ethan has designed here also will be very well landscaped and very nice. So with that, we think that the site certainly needs to be redeveloped. It was purchased over the years, parcel at a time, by me and my partners, so that for redevelopment, for that reason, the buildings haven't really been updated as they would if we were trying to maintain them. We knew that they would always be knocked down, and we think it's a significant location at the beginning of downtown that needs to be redeveloped, and we think what Chris is proposing is good for the city. There's certainly studies show there's a need for apartments, and this is apartments in walking distance to downtown, so we think it's very appropriate. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ethan.
Thank you.
Good evening. For your records, my name is Ethan Hall. I'm a principal with Resistance Hall Architecture. A couple of the things that we had talked about at the last meeting was getting a streetscape to show where we were in relationship to the adjoining properties. So I think everybody got a copy of that. This is the Butler Palmer's building now, our proposed building with the driveway between the two, and then the buildings as you progress north up Glen Street. On the opposite side of Notre Dame, the buildings again rise back up. There's a couple of buildings there, and then as you go to the next block over, you run into what used to be the junior high school. So the scale of the buildings is shown on that drawing there. Otherwise, there's nothing different than what we were here last month to show you. The layout of the existing lots is shown here on the first drawing, and then the layout of the proposed site. Nothing has changed from what we've talked about. The 24-unit building sits on the Glen Street side as part of the streetscape that we've shown. We did reduce the size of this building from 12 units per floor down to 10 units per floor to allow us to bring this back so that we can get this and not have to rezone this parcel. Outside of that, there's the redesign of the parking lot so that it's all interior to the space. We do have entry off from Washington Street and entry and exit off from Glen Street as well. There are no curb cuts along Harlem Street, as there are currently 3 curb cuts along Harlem to access three different properties. So there's 3 different curb cuts. Those all go away. So there's no traffic being added to Harlem. The major arteries are the ones that are getting the traffic.
Is there any exit on the Harlem Street?
No.
The one kind of building at the corner might have its own, you have to look at the survey.
This one?
Yeah.
Right now, this current existing 4-unit has no parking whatsoever associated with it. That's the adjoining property owner to this. At this point, we have nothing shown. There's currently 3 curb cuts along here. We're taking all 3 of them. This plan takes all 3 of them away. So there'll be no traffic from this project going onto or off from Harlem Street. Same with East Notre Dame. There's no connection from this project to East Notre Dame whatsoever. Otherwise, the building layout is the same, and the exterior elevations are as we had shown them before, with the rendering here kind of mimicking the building that's currently there, and the streetscape project, they're showing the streetscape from both Harlem Street, from the parking area which faces back towards the area, and then this is the view if you're looking into the site from Washington. I'll let Tom address any of the site issues.
Stormwater management, we've basically taken the parking area we have some permeable paver in the parking aisles to reduce our hard surface coverage, and then also catch basins and dry wells that are piped together to manage the stormwater coming off the parking area. We did some soils testing. We had deep well drained sands there, which match the soil mapping, so we know we have good soils and they're well drained. The house or the building roofs will be guttered and piped directly into the heat trenches around the perimeter of the building. That'll be broken up, and they're oversized and managed up to the 100-year storm. So the stormwater was pretty straightforward. We've got good soils to take it right into the ground, and we did do some permeable pavement in the parking area.
Water and sewer connection.
Oh, water and sewer connections. We're going to be coming off of Washington Street and Glen Street for the water and sewer connections. We've got, large mains on both of those. It's a collector area, so we should be, without issue, connecting to either the water or the sewer, in this area. And all the main trunk lines run down through this area, so, we're gonna work with the city and come up with the best location, for them to connect. That's about it. That's pretty much.
With that, we'll take any questions that you might have. I don't know, are you doing both site plan and architectural review at the same time?
Yes, okay. Just a quick question, I'm sure that I have it here, but I'm not seeing it, the landscape.
Landscaping plan?
Yeah.
So our landscaping is shown on the site. We've got individual trees located in the areas that we have shown. There is a landscaping plan. It's, again, the rest of the area around the building between Harlem Street and the building itself is all grass. Between Washington and the building is all grass. And then the area between the big building and the parking lot is all grass as well. We have taken away from what was on our original plan. There was an outdoor pavilion and the gym space. Those are both gone. There's just not enough room left to do that. We have the dumpster located at the back of the site. It's surrounded by a fence. And then the landscaping runs between this project and the multifamily that's just to the north of it, along with a fence that runs the perimeter on that side to block this from that. And then this new building up on Glen Street is surrounded by grass on all three sides.
So you're showing what are the trees? Do you have the species identified yet?
I do not have those called out yet. I gotta still work with Chris to figure out what he wants to use in there. There'll be a mix of deciduous and conifers, so some of them are gonna keep their leaves year round and some of them are gonna drop their leaves.
But very similar to what you just did on Washington
Yeah.
Street.
Very similar to what we did.
Ethan, I think from the first time you showed us this project, you took the building that was on Glen Street and you pulled it back.
We pulled it back.
And the setbacks, and I think maybe so people can understand, is there a way, because it's not shown, that you can show where the houses are? Because if I'm not mistaken, they're closer to Glen Street.
The two existing buildings are shown here. The front setback to the one that's farthest north is 7 feet from the front property line. The other one is 19'6" to the closest point of the building. And we've moved our building back so that our closest point of building is 20 feet 2 inches. So we are farther back from Glen Street than either of the two houses that are there now.
Does it line up with the
It's
law?
actually behind the
Behind the
office.
law.
Yeah, their front setback is 13 feet and change, I think. 13 feet 11 inches, or 13 feet 10 inches at this front corner down here.
Yep.
Is the ingress and egress between the new building and the law office building going to be wider or will it stay the
It
same?
stays exactly the same. as
It's
what's
two-way.
there. It's a two-way,
Yeah.
two-way traffic now. Stays exactly the same. It is. We are going to realign it as we get past the law office. We turn it so that it becomes perpendicular and parallel to the rest of the parking that we're adding here. The curb cut that we're adding onto Washington is a three-way, so it's one way in and two ways out. Because trying to make a left out of there at certain times of the day if anybody's ever tried to come out of Harlem and make a left, it can be a little.
Do you think the curb cut there is better than being on Harlem Street?
We don't really have a way to get onto Harlem
All right.
for that, and I would rather get our traffic onto the main collector. And because that is a light, as we know, Stewart's did the traffic study, and that project is benefiting that light. So once that's done, that should help that light become more effective.
Right, that's gonna have an extra turn lane by
Correct.
Stewart's. We're gonna have an extra turn lane there and a brand new traffic light.
Correct.
And again, that property that's next to the building on Harlem,
Up here?
that's completely taken off this project. So
Correct.
it's not involved.
Mhm.
Can you describe what your strategy is with the roofs? Because when you see the elevation, you see all the lines and the.
Everything on the front building and the back building, for that matter, is a hip roof. So as you look at the front facade that faces Glen Street, all of these roofs actually tip away from you. They're not gable ends. There is the gable end that's directly over the entryway, and what we've tried to do is mimic this gable end that's in this corner view. So there is that one little gable that's above the main entry, and all the rest of them tip back away from it. So it's a hip. When you look at it from the side, you look at the side elevations of that building, you can see that they all come back to a point and not straight up gables. So they're all pushed back like this.
And that's to mitigate the scale, I assume.
That'll bring the scale of that building down, so when you're looking at it from this side of the street or from the other side of the street for that matter, it's not gonna seem as tall because the roof is falling away from it. So looking at this is the Glen Street side of it. As you're looking at these roofs, these all tip back like this, and the ridge line is actually very short for a building that's as long as it is. The roof, that's the way the roof tips back. The ridge line is very short. It gives a softer look to the roof.
Any more questions?
Yes.
So,
So,
we're gonna go over to after the public comment too, we'll go back over everyone's comments. Go ahead.
okay. So this tax parcel 302.20, what is does Patton own that parcel?
This one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what's going to be done to it?
Right now, it's just green space.
And that's what it will remain?
Mhm.
Would he be willing to put trees?
We'll plant on this, we'll do whatever. There are some discussions.
It's zoned for single family, so it's possible that he'll decide to build a house there.
He eventually down the road, he's not gonna leave it vacant. So
That's
we're
not
gonna-
No, no.
this
That's
That's
part.
not
not part of the project, it's a
Yeah.
different lot.
Right,
Mhm.
not part of this.
So it will not be green space?
As far as this project is concerned, this is all green space. Correct.
And then again, so I see that with a lot,
Mhm.
302.20-16-9,
Mhm.
that same thing, so
This one back here,
Yeah.
this one, we have it right on there. It's
Yeah.
not included in this, and that will become a single family residence.
okay.
As it is.
So the biggest thing is I want specific landscaping. I want a very detailed landscaping plan, because there are so many trees that are going to be knocked down that I want to make sure that we are not losing one of the aspects that I love in the city is the trees that we have. So that's what I want to see. I would like to see something of a traffic study in the sense of turning out of Washington Street, because that is such a nightmare of an intersection of some sort, if there's, you know.
Coming off from our site. Our trip generator is, when you think about what's there right now, Bridget, what's there right now, this is an office building,
Yep,
2 multifamily buildings here, and
Yeah.
all of these come this way now.
yep,
And most of that traffic comes out onto Harlem.
yep,
And we're taking that and bringing it out onto Washington, which is the main collector. So our trip generator is pretty close to equal to what's there. But our trip, that's a full day trip generator.
yeah.
Our trip generator from the apartments is 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening. That's when our
Yeah,
trips are.
I just worry about it being, like, I understand the issue, and I understand why you put it there, my concern is people turning left, trying to turn left to get there.
Coming out of
Yeah,
here?
or turning into there because of how the traffic gets backed up.
Anything, yeah, because it comes from the light, and it does very often get back up to Harlem
Right.
Street. And in that case, the right turn goes out here, and any stacking takes place in this drive aisle within the site,
Yeah,
not
but
out on
I'm
the
like,
road.
and I think people coming onto Washington to take a left into the building.
Into this property?
Yeah.
Coming up here
Yeah.
and turning in? Yeah, that could be an issue, but there's also the end that comes in.
I think they would go up Glen.
Yeah, they would tend to go up Glen to get in.
Okay. And
Coming from the south or the west,
Yeah.
you
Right there.
more than likely take that turn and come in on that side.
The other thing is I want to know what fencing is going to be put up,
Okay.
because the fencing that is on the what is the one on, in between, the one that's back? Yeah, Union. That fencing is construction fencing and it looks terrible.
Well, the fencing that's planned along Harlem is gonna match the fencing, it's the picket, the
Okay, but
wrought
I mean
iron
also
style.
like along, because like I said.
That's gonna be a stockade fence, that'll be a 6-foot vinyl stockade fence that's solid, not open.
Yeah.
And everything
White?
else is the wrought
What
iron.
color?
Yes,
What color?
wait.
Just because the one on Union, because I take that way quite often, going past the Heritage Apartments, and it just, that fencing is awful. So I don't
No,
want that.
that's not what we have proposed.
Okay, so can we have that specifically, like, I
I'm
want
pretty
that
sure,
down?
yep, I'm pretty sure that it says it, 6-foot stockade fence. I'll make sure you can get it
But
on.
most of that is the aluminum wrought iron.
Everything that's on the streetscape, yes.
Does it match the one across the street, the
Correct.
same one? Yeah, that's a nice
Yeah,
one.
the same low fence. It's just to keep people from walking across the grass.
Well, the 6-foot stockade on the north side will prevent headlights.
100%. Yeah, coming from this space going back into this.
That's it for now.
Is there fencing on Washington Street at all, between the parking lot and the sidewalk?
Across here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the intent is that everything that comes down Washington, or comes down Harlem, turns and comes down, similar, exactly the same as what we've got on the other,
The low.
across, yeah, the low fence.
That's fine, it's just the other fencing is atrocious.
We're not putting that.
Or particular condition, it's white
Yeah.
vinyl stockade fence.
100%.
On that one
Yeah.
section and the black wrought
Wrought iron
iron,
on the-
whatever it is.
Yeah.
On the street.
That could be a condition.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. We'll take some public comment now. Thank you very much.
Actually, I have a,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
Go right ahead.
So thank you for doing that street elevation. I mean, I think, I thought it was really important for everybody to see the scale of this in relation to the other buildings on that block, and considering how many units are in it. There is a step down in scale from
Yes.
the law office. You know, and then we go down.
From the flat 3-story
Right,
full office building that's 12 feet per floor,
right.
or probably greater than 12 feet per floor, because their overall building height is 46.
It's very clearly of apartment building scale and
Yes.
not the same scale as the houses, but it's also
Yes.
not what you originally, presented in
Yes.
terms of the massing. I think, and I think it is helpful, and I may have said this last time, that you pulled it back,
Yeah.
because it being larger, it's more appropriate that there's more green space in front of
Sure.
it between the sidewalk and the houses. It's more appropriate that they're a little closer to Glen, and that makes sense. To the comment about trees, I have concerns about the balconies that are facing the neighbors, directly facing the neighbors, especially on the upper floors, looking down into the yard, and I'm wondering if you could even take a strategy where the trees are planted, boom, right there in front of
In front of them, we can make sure that,
I mean-
that all the trees are located directly in front of the balcony, sure.
you know,
To an extent.
odd to say, put a tree in front of a balcony, but I think that this is something that this will loom over the neighbors.
Yeah.
And, you know, a 6-foot-high fence works to the point, but then you've got people.
That's more for the
Hanging.
lower, yeah, that's more for the
Right.
lower units that have the walkout
Yeah.
balconies on them. They're more patios, covered patios.
You know, and I think springing the larger trees on that side to
Mhm.
like off the bat, do as much as we can to
Sure.
preserve privacy for the neighbors.
Mhm.
Are there trees there now?
There are,
Okay.
there are in
There's a lot.
between the white building that's there now and the adjoining one, I think.
There's a significant
trees.
amount of.
A lot of them are actually, a lot of those trees are actually overhanging the neighbor's property.
Yeah, wasn't there an issue the first
We want
meeting? that
we want to
they
make
wanted
sure
to
that
go?
we get the overhanging parts away from the neighbors' houses so that there's no chance that they're going to fall on them.
I don't have any other comments.
No?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. folks, we're gonna open it up to public comment. We're gonna ask, so that everybody has an opportunity to speak if you wish, that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Okay, so come on up, please. Come on up. If you could please state your name for the record and address.
Yeah, I'm Brian Hackstrand, 5 Baker Street. I'm within 200 yards of all these projects. My question on this particular project is parking spaces from 90 to 75. That's quite a reduction in parking spaces. And last week we had 3 people on East Notre Dame who were going to lose parking spaces, and living downtown, right there, parking's a big thing, because where people can't park, they're going to park on Harlem Street, they're going to park on East Notre Dame Street. They're very small streets, and the residents there have to park out there. So these lack of parking spaces are going to take up those spaces. And what I just heard, which I didn't know, they have a green space sitting right next to them. Why can't they use that for parking? It's an empty lot. They're saving it for residential property and eliminating parking. Excuse me. And parking's a big thing downtown, real big. You know, when the insurance company came in, they had a little lot. It didn't work. Then they bought 4 Sherman Avenue. Didn't work. Stewart's is there. They bought Washington Street. Pat is there. They had to build a parking garage. They're a lot bigger, but in perspective, with these 3 projects, the number of people are not that much bigger than the insurance company needed. So I have no reason why, I can't see no reason why they have a green spot and they can't put parking. And
Well, that lot's not part of this project.
they own it. No? Okay. So it's quite a number of parking spots. And the other thing on this, we have these, I've been coming here for the planning board meetings because Stewart's was right next to me, and they're doing pretty good right now, just to let you know. And what I see is people come in here with these plans and no regard for the building codes. No regard. You need 90 parking spots, ask for 75. Last week, the guy wants to reduce to 1.5 to 1.1. They know the building codes. If you can't fit that many people in, reduce the number of people to the parking spots. That's the disregard for the building code. 100%. It says right here from last meeting, Code Enforcer Officer Cancelleri stated that it's a homeowner's responsibility to provide parking for their tenants. They're not doing it here. That's the code.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else? Can we have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Sandy Rhodes. I live at 23 May Street, Glens Falls. My son attended Glens Falls schools from kindergarten at Jackson Heights until he was graduated last June from high school. Our path to school often took us past Chris Patton's project out at 28 Union. It is no secret that Chris Patton promised green space but delivered concrete and plastic. In one of the most beautiful cities in the United States, known nationally for our architecture and trees, that is shameful. I will share in that shame because I wasn't there for those meetings, but I am here today to ask, why would the city even consider doing business with a man who has demonstrated to not be honest in business? Incidentally, if my porch becomes a mess or my grass gets too long, my landlords may have to pay a fine. because we have to comply with the city codes. My family was very lucky to find a place that we could afford to rent in Glens Falls. When my son was in 2nd grade, we moved in there when my son was in 2nd grade, and we still cling to it like a life raft because we love Glens Falls. I have been an active volunteer in the city and would love to someday have a business in Glens Falls of my own. That is, if my family is still welcome here in the Glens Falls that we're trying to build. If we had to move now, there is no question that we would have to leave the city because there are so few affordable 2 or 3 bedroom apartments available. This project is the 3rd of Chris Patton's in a row that would be within walking distance from schools and completely inaccessible to families. That does not fill need, that fills greed. So my final thought is this: housing that is unavailable to families within walking distance to schools in a walking distance is asinine. And I thank you for listening. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa Seal. I reside at 552 Glen Street in Glens Falls. I live here, and my husband and I own multiple businesses in Glens Falls. I'm here today to speak to the Patton project and also to the multiple signs that Hoffman wants to put up on Broad Street for their location. I just want to make a broad statement because the last lady that spoke, she did a very good job highlighting the problems with the Patton project. I guess in general, what I wanted to say is, as a planning board, you get projects brought before you one by one all the time. We would really love it to have some foresight, to have some future planning. What do we want our city to look like? What do we want Glens Falls to be? It's not just approving one project at a time just to satisfy certain needs or to not get into trouble because a piece of property's already been sold. What kind of Glens Falls are we looking to build? And a lot of that rests with you guys. I know Saratoga Springs, very strict with their codes and what it is to look like, the facades. I would like, not that we're Saratoga Springs, but a little bit more sight into our future, into what Glens Falls will look collectively as a whole, what kind of businesses we want to bring to our community, what we stand for. There should be some sort of focus and attention to that. I've been an elected school board member. I've sat on the other end while people yelled at me, misunderstood things, and we had to sit and listen. But there's been times where we've made decisions as a school board and I had to go back with the group on those decisions because we gained more information for the community. Because not only were we were working for the community, with the community. It wasn't just us in a bubble approving one thing after another. So please have some future planning, have some sight as to what we want Glens Falls to be. We don't want Glens Falls to have these projects that don't fit. 1-bedroom apartments do not fit for this area. I'm also a provider of children's mental health services and I help families in this area. And housing is a problem. There's nowhere for these families to live. Please have some focus on that. Please have some focus on what kind of projects we're going to allow in Glens Falls, not these cheap little quick put together profit making projects. And the Hoffman's car wash, I spoke about it before, it went through fine, but now we're gonna put in multiple signs, lighted signs. What are we aiming to look like? What is Glens Falls aiming to be? I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Hermides, and I reside at 514 Glen Street. And I would like to echo some of the concerns that my neighbor just eloquently expressed. And I also want to just add that I love this town. I love this city. I love everything about it. We're raising our son here. It's a walking community. It has so many great features. One of the key great features of our city that separates us from a lot of other places, and we have one opportunity to either maintain it or ruin it, and that's the landscape of our buildings. The architectural fabric of our city is all we have as a city. And when you're driving through it, when people come in here, the thing that they see when they drive up Glen, they see the founding people of this city who had foresight. They see the buildings that they created that are still standing. They're still standing. They're standing across the street from this proposed project on the corner. It's a gorgeous building. There's a gorgeous, gorgeous church next door. There are many other structures all up and down Glen Street. And just picture a random tourist coming into our town and driving up Glen Street, through Glen Street, looking to the left and seeing the Chapman Building, and then looking and seeing, was it the Sherman Building, the next one in that corner? Is that right, the Sherman Building? Seeing that building. And then turning to the right and seeing that thing. Going, God, this is a gorgeous city. And then seeing that. Scale, mass, all of it, architecturally. I understand that this isn't a dig on the architecture design that's there, because that's what was asked that was asked to be done. But what is happening here, like, we've got to stop. We've got to slow down. Please slow down. Like Melissa said, like this is one step of ruining it. You can't change that. It's 60 units. That's huge. It's huge. Yeah, we see that from the front, but what about the vinyl on the sides? We're going to see that. You're going to see that. We're going to pass that building and look in your rearview mirror and see vinyl on the sides everywhere. So I am opposed. There are plenty of people here who are also opposed, and I know you have a slew of letters of neighbors who are opposed. And I'm asking that we just please, I'm not opposed to development. I'm not opposed to any of that. I know we need it, and I agree. I think we need more family, bigger opportunities for families to come. I'm not sold on 61 unit apartments solving for anything for us, except adding a tremendous amount of traffic to that corner and to our street, the street that my son walks on, that my friends' kids walk to school on, that all our kids walk to school. We've got crossing guards all along Glen Street, and like, we need to slow down, please. This is what kind. My question is, like, what kind of legacy do you guys want to leave? This is a volunteer position, I understand, but it's like, we as a community, I feel like we're at a precipice here, and I just ask that we please just think about that.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Would you please tell everybody what you do for that? Come on.
I'm a producer for This Old House,
Okay.
TV show.
So I take comments. You travel all over the country. You deal with historic.
I do. I travel. I get to see a lot of great projects, a lot of great communities. I've gotten to see a lot of you. Like I've been to towns where there are design review committees, and there's very strict guidelines on what can be shown, and I have mixed feelings about all of that, because it is a free country and we want people to be able to do these things, but we also want to maintain the historical fabric and integrity of what we have. And yes, it is true. Like I have seen those things, like many of my colleagues, my neighbors, and you guys, and I'm just saying that this is something that we have to I feel like we have to be very careful about, because I really believe strongly. Look what happened at the Burger King in the middle of town. And this is Burger King right here. That's what this is. This is Burger King all over again.
Hello, everybody. Megan Golden, 514 Glen Street. I have 27 letters of opposition to the Washington Street Square project. I'm going to give them to you. I told you I'd print them out. You guys can look at them. It's just for the record. It's election night. A lot of people could not make it to this meeting. In just 2 days.
Yeah, just for the record, we received this.
Okay.
So nobody's.
No, I'm not reading any of that. This is
So
mine.
look at this.
In just 2 days, this many people, 27, were happy to drop what they were doing to express their concerns and have them put on record. The letters are from Glens Falls residents, business owners, and parents. They are not cut and paste. They are not short formatted. They are long, thoughtful, detailed, comprehensive, and address the concerns this community has with this development. The community is not against development, especially in regard to much needed housing. However, the development should reflect the city's specific needs. Take the 2023, 1 year ago, Warren County Housing Needs Study into consideration regarding solution strategies and reflect the directives that will be discovered in the Glens Falls comprehensive plan that is currently being developed. In October of 23, this study found shortages in good housing solutions for Glens Falls, but it also included strategies to fill the need. These strategies included rehabbing existing rundown buildings and vacant structures, limiting new development to 20 units to fit the landscape and avoid density, and finally, developing a strategy to attract year-round residents, especially young families. 54 one-bedrooms plus the additional added by the 579 Sherman Avenue LLC project. How does this address the family housing crisis or consider future families living and working in Glens Falls? The only mention of need for studios or one-bedrooms from the Warren County study is for hamlet areas. Glens Falls is not a hamlet area. One-bedroom housing is not for the long term. These are short term. If people want to stay and raise families, they want houses or at least 2 to 3 bedroom apartments. Who is benefiting here? The city infrastructure. Many of us received lead pipe notifications this week. We're concerned about the old lead piping that delivers our drinking water. Several times a year, our drinking water comes through brown for days. Parking. The Washington Square project is requesting relief from required parking spaces from 90 to 75. Why should this be granted? There is already much concern about parking and availability, especially for accessing downtown businesses. Where are these cars going to park? Traffic. Glen Street has become considerably more congested in the last few years. The 2 proposed developments will add 85 units to a very congested area, plus the addition of a mega Stewart's on the corner. This is a walking community, the safety of our children. This is one of the last walking communities in the country. Crossing Glen is already an issue. There are not enough crosswalks nor enough crossing guards. History, architecture, and preservation. These new housing developments do not fit with Glens Falls' aesthetic value. The particular location of this development is surrounded by historic buildings, including one on the historic register, First Presbyterian Church, right across the street. The trees, there are many, many trees in this area that are mature and will be decimated and replaced by arborvitaes. That's what gets built in these developments, and that's what gets planted. The environmental impact, the environment including community character, the impact on the surrounding historic structures. Has the environmental review been completed? Has the State Historic Preservation Office been contacted? 391 will be demolished to complete this development. Patent development. This developer makes promises and does not follow through. Why are we allowing variances, accommodations, and allowances for someone whose record could be so much better? The community is thankful to have everyone's support on this. And as the mayor mentioned, as the city, we need to make sure that we have smart, measured development that both provides housing and does not hurt the environment or overall aesthetics of the city. The community is hopeful that the zoning board considers everyone's concern and makes the moves to have Glens Falls prosper and develop in a way that will be appreciated for many years to come. Thank you for hearing my concerns.
Thank you. I have one question.
Yes.
In what neighborhoods did you get a letter about the lead pipe?
I'm one property on Charlotte Street, and then I was advised to go to the website to download a map, and then I tried to download the map. It had error messages. I did contact the Department of Public Works. They did get back to me, but not enough time for me to come to you. I got one for Charlotte Street specifically. So I don't know. I just know that of the properties I manage, which are 12 properties in Glens Falls, we have brown water often. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Angie St. Andrews. I live at 6 Lincoln Avenue, and I'm here for the trees. And I was a tree commissioner, but I pushed too hard and the mayor got rid of me. So I hope that you'll listen to what I have to say about these. It's very important. And I also wanted to know, if they said they pushed this back, why do they need to take that down? Just a question. Okay, going back to this.
They don't push it back like 6 feet, it's still,
It's still in the same spot.
it's still in the same spot, it's just pushed
Not
back.
as close to the street.
Oh, I thought they pushed this back behind that.
No.
I can't see anything out there, so. Okay. So, I'm wondering if we need a building there at all, on Glen in Washington. Urban density versus open space, sometimes it's okay to leave open space. Even though that is a parking lot is a huge healthy green space. You'll lose all that when green space is needed more than ever, especially when the mayor is all about clear cutting the city and letting our urban trees and our urban forests decline and decay. Sidewalks are being installed with no regard for the trees. They are cutting down mature trees, 20, 50, 100 years old, shaving or cutting major supporting roots. Even though the city code tells exactly how to preserve them and the ADA leaves allowances for them, we are losing a lot of trees and will continue to for another year. Preserving sites like this one is critical. The city code under trees is not outdated, it's just ignored. And so the trees that are on this, which I don't know which ones are included in this plan, but they should be a priority to preserve and maintain in any construction, but they can't be the only priority. It's naive to think that trees need to be left at all costs. Of course, in a city environment, there needs to be infrastructure upgrades and construction, but it is also short-sighted to not consider working our mature trees into those plans. I'm sorry, I forgot to give you guys these, and I only have one copy. This is Wade House, the project that was done already, and this is the Washington. And these are all the trees that will be lost. So you're not just getting a big shoebox building, you're losing all of the aesthetics of that lot. Because these are the trees that are along Washington. Okay. Of course, in a city environment, there needs to be an infrastructure upgrades and construction, but it is also short-sighted to not consider working our mature trees into those plans. Trees are important, especially with our changing climate, to help keep our air clean, shade our homes, reduce temperatures, help with stormwater runoff, which we have a problem with the city, increase property values, promote tourism and commerce, and they look beautiful. So isn't there a spot in the application specifying the vegetation that will be removed or will be preserved during construction projects? Is there one?
On the site plan?
Yeah.
There's a landscape portion of the site plan.
Oh, that they have to put in, but not what's being removed?
No, they show what's being removed as well.
Okay, so you have to approve that too?
Yes.
So what's being removed?
They show what's removed. Yeah, they show all that.
Okay. All right. All right. So how will the removal of the trees affect the neighboring properties? For example, the White House and Washington Street Apartments, the ones that were just built. The White House is on the back side of Washington Street Apartments. It sits alone and is exposed now. Towering mature trees that did provide shade and a buffer from the apartments were cut down and replaced with 2 huge dumpsters. These 2 homes were renovated and painstakingly restored. I was there when they were doing it. They provide a safe place and guidance for families in need in our community, which is more than needed with the issues that we are dealing with in City Park. They are invested in the community, but an apartment complex of 1-bedroom apartments were so important that they were given encroachment variances. The people who are renting a one-bedroom apartment are likely not invested in the city. The people who live in homes around those apartments, though, are. They pay taxes. They pay an exorbitant water bill. They invest in the community, and they raise their kids here, retire here, put down roots, and they put the future in the hands of our local government. So, should we tear down homes that are old and a little run down to accommodate a tractor-trailer-sized gas station in a historic neighborhood, or give variances in new construction apartments that can be less than 10 feet away from the exterior of a historic home? Shouldn't we demand higher standards of incorporating our historical home's history and environment and new construction together for a better, healthier, beautiful city? Let's turn some vacant houses into housing for families. They already belong in the neighborhood. They have yards for their children, and it will give other houses around them higher property values. Why are we being so small-minded when there are so many industry, environmental, architectural leaders out there who are doing that right now? It is up to the city to give them the parameters that fits Glens Falls. We have the control. You guys have the control to have them design the type of building that will blend in with the surrounding neighborhood, not just a shoebox with a few embellishments. We should have an arborist and tree commissioner involved during the design phase. Have older homes be incorporated into the site plan rather than get torn down. The buildings we are tearing down have been there 140 years. My home alone is 120. The ones that are being put, I doubt will last that long. You couldn't afford to build a house like these anywhere, and I really doubt that they're going to be on the historical Halloween walk, which the brick one is. I don't think the white one is.
Mrs. Sanders, we have to keep this to time limit so everybody can speak if they
I got 2 more seconds. I'm sorry.
No.
I can't. Okay. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. All right, so you couldn't afford to build a house like that anymore. There are upper floors of buildings, downtown buildings that could be converted to apartments. Bonaccio Builders are putting apartments in the 3 buildings he's restoring on Almond South, preserving the exterior and putting over 70 apartments where the farmer's market was. Affordable apartments, apartments that are hundreds less than what market value is. He's not tearing down any buildings. So existing trees should be taken into consideration in any plans for construction projects and worked around and protected. The 2 elm trees in front of Stewart's need to be protected during the construction of the building. I was on the tree commission and planted those trees 20 years ago. Are we just going to undo reforestation from one administration to another? I went to the October tree meeting to bring concerns about the trees on this lot, but none of the public were asked to speak, and it was made clear that no one should be interfering in the planning or zoning boards. So why should we start over with young trees, these plans that they have for these little 1-inch trees to go in, when they'll take 20 years to make any kind of environmental impact? So keeping mature trees there is so much more important.
Thank you.
So, blah, blah, blah.
You're 3 minutes.
Yeah,
So
we got
All right.
we gotta allow everybody to speak who would like to
Okay,
speak.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Carly Samek. I live at 1 Lincoln Avenue. I wasn't planning on speaking, so I don't know anything about code, so I'll start with that and keep it short, simple, and sweet. I couldn't sit back and not come up here after listening to my neighbors, my community members come up and speak so eloquently and with such passion. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and my husband. We came here about 7 years ago by happen chance. We were living in a different town, and we ended up living in a house that had toxic mold. I was in the middle of grad school. I had a mental breakdown. I was like, where are we going to go? And we ended up in Glens Falls. We ended up at 453 Glen Street, beautiful old building, 2-bedroom apartment we were able to get, and it was so needed because we don't have family here that supports us. So we needed extra space so that our younger siblings and the people that we care for could come and be with us. We had no plans on staying when we joined Glens Falls. It was really, again, a place of refuge. I now own a home in Glens Falls at 1 Lincoln. I opened up my practice last year as a mental health provider in the area, and I'm in the process of working on building programming that could bring evidence-based care that doesn't really exist in the Capital District. And the reason I want to do that is because where I live, because where Glens Falls is and what it's all about. So I'm new to this stuff. I've never the first one to admit where my scope ends, and the fact is I'm new to coming to planning board meetings, and it's been very interesting to listen and watch. What I've been most interested in is the engagement piece. The community members clearly want to engage in these conversations. We want to engage. I don't feel as though Patton and his associates necessarily do. The conversation has never turned. I've never once witnessed anyone turn around and say, hello, this is what we're doing. As a provider who works in the mental health space, I think it's so important that when you're trying to engage someone, you look them in the eye and you ask them, what are your thoughts, even if I don't agree with them. So I really, again, I can't speak to COBA. What I can say is that I'm a person who's getting ready to build my family. My husband and I are in the process of adopting a child, and we're so excited to do that here in Glens Falls. But part of that is because of the community. The community has a lot to do with the architecture and the roots that exist here. If a 2-bedroom affordable apartment had not existed, we wouldn't have ended up here. We wouldn't have bought a home. I wouldn't have started a business, and we wouldn't be getting ready to build a family here. So those who develop our city need to engage appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
My name is Steve Murata, and first I just want to say, 50 the Broad Street here in Glens Falls. And I want to say I appreciate all the work that you do. I sat on the Zoning Board of Appeals for several years, and I know how hard the work is. So I just want to get that out front, that you guys work hard, and for no pay. So, thank you. But I guess the bulk of, I want to address, it kind of has to do with what was just said was, first, I'm amazed at the number of people that are here. I mean, if we had an audience like this at the Zoning Board of Appeals, it would be amazing. And, you know, and it is the most basic civic engagement that one can do in a city that is absolutely important. So to discourage it would be a shame. We need to take advantage of it, actually, I think, and we need to build upon it. And that leads to where I'm going, which is, it seems, is there currently any strategic planning towards the future, a building plan for this city? None that I know of. Is there? Does anyone know?
The city's in the middle of the comprehensive plan. A committee has been formed. They've met once. They anticipate the comprehensive plan taking between 1 year and 18 months.
Okay, but we still continue to grant variances and continue to allow building going on?
This project does not require any variances. It's a GC1, which promotes multi-family housing.
Okay, but it does seem that there's a lot of development going on right now in the city. A lot of, which I'm not anti-development.
Stop development.
No. I'm not anti-development, but where I'm going with it is, if you walk around, especially the commercial zone, there are already a lot of empty commercial spaces that are not rented. And if we are going ahead and we are approving new projects that include commercial space, who's going to rent them? Are we going to end up 5 years down the road with a lot of empty space that we're going to regret because we didn't have a plan that took into consideration what I'm passionate for is affordable housing, okay? Took into consideration the needs of the historic nature, the walking nature, everything that has been mentioned in this room by the community, okay? That is what we need, okay? And that's what I'm here to advocate for. So I guess I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Hello, hi Rachel, how are you? Long time no see. My name is Cindy Brown. I live at 48 Baldwin Avenue. And I've lived in Glens Falls all my life, born and raised here. I lived actually at 50 Baldwin Avenue and then bought the house next door to me when I grew up and raised my 3 daughters there. So I have an interest in Glens Falls just because I am a native here. And I also have a deep appreciation for architecture. And I'm not trained in anything like that. Certainly don't have any of the savvy that a lot of these speakers ahead of me have. I'm just a concerned citizen about the current events of building and the potential demolition of 391 Glen Street, as it seems to be a beacon of the charm of Glens Falls and what Glens Falls is and should be and remain all about. Glens Falls was dubbed years ago as Hometown USA, and I feel like because we were deemed Hometown USA, that it was for a very big reason, and it was the quaintness of the town, it was the charm of the town. We've already suffered many losses to our architecture and buildings in this town within the last 100 to 100 years, with the burning of the Rockwell Hotel, with the demolition of most of the beginning of Warren Street up to St. Mary's Church when urban renewal came in and took down our Rialto Theater. On the other corner, they took down Paramount Theater. And so we've lost some very beautiful architectural buildings. And for anyone to be allowed to come into this town, which is already tight with buildings, I feel like that is something that really ought to have a high consideration in terms of tabling these projects. My thought is, why can't they work with existing buildings and put a new face on some that are almost falling down? Instead of building new stuff, having all of this, having to come here and get all these variances, or and you state not in this case, but variances and considerations and modifications just to build a new building. So I'm here today just to advocate for the town the only town I've ever known, and when considering permission for him to build his building, to also be inclusive of the 391 Glen Street building to remain where it is and not demolished for the sake of a new building, and maybe put a new face on it. And I know it's expensive, I've been told that, I get it. But it's been done in the past with other buildings around the country, around the world, and there's no reason why this can't be considered as well. So I do agree with everything that everyone has said. There's a lot of good talking points here, and I just want to know if maybe the application can be tabled for revision and review. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Thank you very much for everybody who spoke. I guess. Would you like to address any of the?
Yeah, I'm not sure everybody was talking about the same building that we have here now. It's just kind of surprising. We think that.
We can't hear it at all.
I said I'm not sure that the speakers were talking about the same buildings that we proposed, because what we have in front here was designed with everyone's input, and we think it's a very attractive building. My office building is kind of boring as an 80s modern building, and across the street we have 333, very modern. And so what Ethan has proposed is something that is much more Victorian and classic, and a much softer building, as he said. So beyond that, a lot of speakers were talking about variances, and of course, as Chair said, we're not seeking any variances. We made it a smaller project. People were talking about 60 units. It's 54 plus the office building that'll remain, of course. So the need for one-bedroom apartments. Of course, there's a need for 2 bedrooms for families and 3 bedrooms, but one-bedroom apartments are for young workers coming into town that can't afford big apartments, that don't need big apartments. There's a need for all sorts of apartments in Glens Falls. Chris is building 1 bedroom because all the 1 bedrooms that he's built are fully leased or about to be fully leased. So there's clearly a need. Empty nesters and young people just starting out in the workforce because they're affordable. And these are not subsidized. These aren't subsidized like other ones that were discussed. These are market rate, so good for taxes, good for the city. In terms of the parking, a few things were said incorrectly. So the total site is 108 spaces, including the office. But what's most important here, and what justifies the waiver, this is a shared parking situation. The office doesn't use spaces at night and doesn't use spaces on the weekend. So what the code calls for 1.5 spaces per apartment. What fits nicely on this site is about 1.25 spaces per apartment. And the difference is that there's spaces going to be available nights and weekends when residents are home, not working. There's plenty of parking on this site. You know, we don't work nights and weekends, or there might be 5 cars. So
that was in the application. You have a shared agreement or agreement.
Yep. So that's because Chris is going to own the whole thing, or the applicant, and the whole site has ample parking for both uses.
Including your building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. He's buying the whole thing and we're leasing the building back for
Yes.
20 years or so. So that parking's not an issue. In terms of traffic, the buildings that are proposed to be demolished are the 2 apartment buildings that were once lovely buildings, but were cut up into 9 apartments now. They're kind of a mess. And the office building in the back of the parking lot across from what Chris just built, which until recently had up to 25 people. So in terms of the number of cars and the traffic issue, the 9 apartments that are coming down plus the 25 people in the office building, right there, that's 34 compared to 54 units. I mean, this is a very minor increase in traffic from what's there. We're going on to a state highway and an arterial on Washington Street. Pretty much the same as what's always happened on this site. Leaving that as a big ugly parking lot in an important location in downtown, that doesn't help anybody, it doesn't help the city. As was mentioned, this is a use as of right, it's what the code calls for. We think the architecture, everything Chris does seems to get better. Union Street was certainly surpassed by Washington and Harlem Street, and this is designed to be more attractive than that. Ethan will talk about the landscaping, which he can now specify, but it's pretty much exactly what Chris did, which was certainly ample. The fence and the trees that he put in, or he went beyond what other developers have done, and this project will be the same. So there's a bunch of older trees that are losing limbs, that aren't healthy, that don't add, and brand new, what Ethan's proposed is going to be a lot of green space, a lot of trees, and it'll be frankly nicer than what Chris just finished, and I personally think that looks great. So let me turn it over to Ethan.
Thank you, John. So as far as the tree goes, we'll go out and do a tree study, survey of what's on the lot now. Anything that can be saved, that's there, that's not in our developable area, we'll keep there. We know that this side along the north of our property line has trees that are hanging over the property on the other side. Chris has talked to that owner, he wants those out of there because they're at the point where they're going to fall on this building. So anything that's on that side has to come down. We'll look at using lindens, which are hardy tree streets, red maple, honey locust. We've used those very effectively around the city. They're small leaf, they grow very quickly. They're very strong trees. For the area along this side, we'll look at using some tall conifers that are narrow, not arborvitae, but something along that same line that's going to grow tall and be a conifer that stays green year round.
The trees that are on Washington Avenue, you won't be taking any of those down. No.
We're not taking anything down. None of the pear trees, none of the flowering crab, none of those are coming down. Depending on where this falls, this tail end of the parking lot, the trees actually stop right about here. And in the winter time, this becomes a big pile of snow.
Right.
It's what happens right now. Everything in Bartlett Pond's lot gets pushed to this corner. So there are no trees here. We're actually showing adding these, and Chris has already said he'll put the additional tree plantings like we put on the other side of Washington. We're going to mimic that on this side.
And there are 3 mature maples in front of our building on Glen Street that are staying.
Everything on the front of the building here stays. We'll take a look. There's nothing on the front of these 2 that's really there. There's some alder that are in there that have overgrown, and those are the big tall ones that are leaning over to the side. So we'll put together a tree study of what's there. I'll talk with Martin Seaton, who is an arborist here in Queensbury. I'll get him over there to look at the ones that are diseased and we'll figure out which ones stay and which ones go. A1 tree service.
Is there any way we could have a written report?
Sure. I can get Martin to put something there first.
it would be a condition that we get a report
Yes.
from the arborist and a firm tree planting.
100%. Something that
That needs to be
Philip,
approved by the board.
correct, something that Philip can hold Chris
Yep.
to. Absolutely.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, I would like to see a specific landscape,
Sure.
design. Like I don't know, I'm just.
Will there be like flower beds or anything like that in there too? Or
There,
have they
yeah,
done-
there's going to be some lower ground plantings, some foundation plantings. Those types of things are going to happen just to soften the outside edges of the building. Very similar to what he's got along Washington Street and along Harlem now. It's the same type planting plans that we're going to do there.
Well, why don't we start with our review? Do you have anything else you want to add? Is already the architecture?
No, although if you did bring some, where are you putting the snow?
Wait until I put it back to ask that question. So all of the snow is going to get pulled back into this area. We've looked at pulling it back into this portion back here. Most of it's going to wind up getting taken off the site. Okay. He's got the same thing going on at next door. A lot of it gets pushed towards the back of the site. Once it's sat there, they can come in at night and pull it out. He's got a loader and a dump truck, and they can grab it and pull it out. We've got sidewalks that run through here. We've got an open area here that it can be pushed to. We've got open areas back here that it can be pushed to. We've got areas in the front that it can be pushed to. We've got areas back here that we can push it to.
And just to clarify, so I understand, those are the patios on Harlem Street, those are just walk out onto,
Along Harlem?
yeah,
So-
onto pads.
The patios on the first floor are the same size as the second floor balconies. They just don't have any handrail around them. They're at grade, so there's no reason to put a rail around them. But yes, they are the same size as what's up above. It's just a patio.
And the front, and the lawn in front is sort of their front yard.
Correct.
I don't have any other questions right now.
Mr. Landry, would you like to start?
Yes. Couple of quick questions. Going back to the single-bedroom apartments, where does the data come from to justify all these one-bedroom apartments? Is there a national study? Is there a database you go to?
It's when Chris and the other developers in town are marketing and people are asking for one bedrooms because there's a lot of young single people looking for apartments. I know a lot of young single people in the old middle school. I mean, that's who's.
Just move the stand in front of the door.
That's who's coming downtown, young workers. So there's a demand for one bedroom apartments for young single people, and probably for empty nesters as well. But that's because when Chris is renting them, that's what people are asking for.
All right, and I mean, as far as the demographic of what you're targeting, are these local people or are these people you're trying to attract into the area? Or?
Both, but I mean, what we see with the newer apartments in Glens Falls is that people are moving out of older buildings that have been kind of cut up poorly and single family that are now 2, 3, and 4 bedroom and moving into brand new apartments with air conditioning and washers and dryers and upgrading.
Which in turn opens those up. Right.
391 Glen is single, are they one bedrooms?
It's 9 apartments. I don't know if one of them is a 2-bedroom, but everything else is 1 bedroom.
Right. Sorry.
That used to be, Vince Canale's law office.
Right.
So he cut it up, apartments upstairs, office downstairs, then he moved across the street onto Sherman, and it became all apartments.
So there's no like actual, it's just all anecdotal.
About the need for apartments? Yeah, but there's not a requirement in the code about, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom.
Is there going to be a point where we're going to reach a saturation point of 1-bedroom apartments?
Other people are building multi-bedroom. 14 Hudson Street has multi-bedroom.
Right.
I know that.
The trend we're seeing though with the 3 big projects that have just come in, Warren Street here in Sherman, for the most part, it's 90%, I would say, or even more for one bedroom.
Well, that tells you that's what the market's looking
Right, it's
for.
not just, yeah, that's the trend in the industry.
Do you feel that it's been mentioned a couple of times about this is a walking distance of downtown?
Yes.
I mean, to me, there's kind of a fine line between walking distance and, right on top of downtown. That's one concern that I have. That, do you feel this project would be viable if it wasn't located on that piece of property?
I think
know
that
you might be the wrong guy.
No, but there's a need for apartments all over the city,
Right.
but it's extra attractive. I know that the middle school is a few blocks north, and everybody likes that because they can walk downtown to the services and shops.
Right.
So same thing here.
All right. That's all I have for now.
Do we know, or do you have the data, are any of these subsidized?
No.
No,
Zero.
I'm talking about like their rent from different services, are these, they're all just people working, the government's not paying for these?
You're not asking for any tax credits?
No, not tax credits, I'm talking about the people paying the rent.
So,
Yeah, he's not taking Section 8 vouchers and that kind of stuff.
This is all people actually paying the rent? This
Correct.
isn't- Okay.
Anything else?
Go on up with that.
So I have a few. So is there an environmental review specifically about tearing down that home that is older and probably has asbestos? So how is that going to be?
An ACM report has to be done before a demolition permit can be issued. It has not been done yet because Chris doesn't know.
But that's legally required. That has to be submitted to the
So
city.
just to shed light on that, you can come to me for any sort of building permit, whether it's alteration, demolition, or renovation, unless it's a single family home, owner occupied with the owner doing all of the work. Asbestos report has to be filed, either needs to show no ACMs or has to show that all the ACMs, asbestos containing materials, have been properly abated and that the site is now ACM clear. So that's a building code requirement. Basically, all construction now requires an asbestos report unless it's owner occupied with the owner doing the work.
And what will happen with that report? Like, how will we be informed of what?
Well, it's a building.
It would be maintained as a building and code office.
So, Phil Kanzler, code enforcement officer. It's, I believe it's industrial law, part 56, that requires asbestos reporting for all construction. There is no provisions for if it was built before a certain time period. Like I said, the only exception is owner-occupied single-family dwellings. So with every construction permit that we get, that's an alteration, renovation, or demolition, we keep that physical copy with the application. And I won't issue the permit until we have that. So anything asbestos related, if it's lead, that's Department of Health. Department of Health deals with lead, we deal with, and the Department of Labor deal with asbestos.
Okay. So we talked about preserving mature trees. What about a water impact study for the amount of apartments coming in? How would that impact the sewer system and the water system?
Have a stormwater management.
No, but I mean,
As far as the water and sewer, we're in the.
I'm not talking about stormwater. I'm talking about actual water, like with the sewer system.
Correct.
People using,
Yeah, the water and sewer.
laundry.
We're in the downtown corridor. All the main arterials for the water and sewer run through there. We'll be hooking up to the water with the work of the water department.
Right, so how would that impact our water system currently? Because as people have
There's-
said, and it's the same, like, you know, there are times when my water turns brown.
That's a completely different situation. Several times a year, the water department has to flush all the hydrants.
I get that.
And
That's not-
That's not a capacity issue.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a capacity issue. At what point are we going to go over capacity with the amount of people, with the amount of apartments being built?
We are currently not there. We're not even close. This usage does not have an issue with that. The city has an abundance of water from the watershed coming down in our supply. It comes through there. has additional capacity beyond that. And our sewer department, our sewer district is actually meant for larger in the community. So we have projects outside the city that are coming into the Glens Falls City District that are accepted, and there's additional capacity there for those. So being in the corridor, being in the middle of the corridor, we have the larger diameter pipes coming through, so we're connecting to the larger end. That would be an issue if you were putting this project out on the periphery of the city where you have the single family homes where the pipes are smaller and decreased in size. This is in the downtown corridor. A lot of the major arteries come through there to service all the larger buildings, so there's not an issue in that area.
All right, so this question is for Ethan.
Go ahead.
So specifically, because I was not here last time, are you able to put brick on all of the buildings surrounding the holding? And less vinyl?
Not the entire building.
How
Okay.
much of the building could you do?
We have the entire front facade that faces Glen Street is brick.
Okay.
Okay. That wraps from this corner.
Yeah.
It comes out from where the bump in the building is, goes all the way across the front of the building and then wraps back. You can see that on your elevations.
Yep.
From this point down, we're doing the same stone that's on the existing building. That wraps the entire building.
Okay.
And then
What about the sides?
there's two different kinds of siding. There's a horizontal siding and there's a vertical siding. And that breaks up the mass of the building. Rather
Okay.
than having just a straight
that
horizontal
vinyl?
siding, it is vinyl, yes.
Can you use something else?
If there's something that we can use in engineered wood siding, it's a comparable, it's the same type material, it's a pre-finished material, we can certainly look into that.
Because I
But there's, I mean,
It looks the same.
right. It looks, I mean, horizontal siding and vertical board and batten siding looks the same whether it's real or vinyl.
I think that, well, I mean, if you're talking about alternative materials like hardy plank, for example, that doesn't look like.
Or horizontal siding.
It is horizontal siding, that's
But
right.
we can
The
look
shape
at,
is the same.
we can look at engineered wood siding, which is the same thing as hardy plank.
Right. And I guess the vertical gray sections are those.
That's a engineered wood siding. It's a
Right.
vertical piece with a batten over the top.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So that's already hardy board.
Yeah, well, engineered wood,
Right, something along those.
And the color is red?
yes.
Red and red.
Red and gray.
Yes.
You have colored renderings
Yep. Why red?
for a brick color.
Match the red brick?
Mhm.
But will it match the actual red brick color?
We've looked at the one that Chris is looking at, it's a very close match to that. Our printers, when we print stuff out, it prints. Okay, I can't change
No, I
the
know.
color of it. It comes out as it gets printed.
I get that, I'm just, I just have some concerns because,
Well, it looks bright in the room, I think,
Yeah.
is your question,
Yeah.
so.
and I think if we can look at,
But do you have a sample?
I do not have a sample with me.
I think if we can see different siding for it instead of just vinyl, because it is such a large building.
Well, is that something that you'd be willing to agree to do tonight, to do engineered wood instead of vinyl?
Yep.
Well, I'd like to see it, like, a sample of it.
Okay.
And I think that is it for my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Lanford?
Actually, Tom satisfied some of my questions that I had, mostly with the water. You guys are going to be attaching what would be a new main for this project, if it was to come into play. Excuse me. And are you going to? Is there any consideration to like investigate if there's any lead that would still be in the ground or lead lines of that nature that would be
Anything that's in the ground now,
Yeah.
between the connection point in the street and the existing buildings will come out. We're obviously gonna have to put new water connections in because all of our buildings are sprinklered. They're fire sprinkler buildings, so we're gonna need larger mains coming in.
Right. So
And that'll all be either, DIP or it'll be,
Okay, so
That's
that's
the-
satisfied.
yeah.
Thank you. No, I think you guys have answered a lot of questions, and I'm glad we got to hear some public comment. I think people are concerned about the size of it and the view from the two sides. So can't be brick on all four sides.
Not be maintained and affordable.
I think, folks, everybody here listen politely, please don't comment while you're speaking. Is the clock gonna work? Is it 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that's the intent.
Okay. No, I can appreciate what you guys have brought back here, in terms of the size of it and pushing everything back. I think there's a lot to think about. You know, I went to the EDC annual meeting and I listened to them talk about how much we need people here. We need young people. The average age is 49 and we can't continue down that path in Warren County, specifically here because we will have too many people on Medicare. So I'm glad, and I do understand, you know, it does seem like a lot of one-bedroom apartments, but we do need to get people here. We need the market rate. We need young professionals moving here. So I do share that concern, but I'm hoping that this is correct in terms of this is what the market wants and this is the right direction. Because we do need to bring young people to this area to maintain the city as we like it.
Anecdotally, you've asked the question about how does Chris know that one-bedroom apartments work? Washington and Harlem, the buildings that are being finished right now. The 8-unit building was finished and occupied the same day. All 8 units. The 20-unit that's there now, that's getting finished, 10 of them are done, they're already spoken for, that leaves 10 left. He's got a waiting list of at least 15 or 18 people. So they're full. As soon as he gets them done, there are people waiting to move in. So anecdotally, that's where his market research comes from.
I'd like to see some siding samples other than vinyl.
I can get you engineered wood sidings.
After just going through all that.
Specifically to what you're talking about,
Would you please come up?
Sure. I just have a conservation.
And we're not opening it back up to public comment. That is closed, but please make your comment brief.
Information about the single bedroom apartments, and I believe it was you who said that quite a few of them were people that were moving out of existing buildings that didn't fit their needs into newer buildings. And my question is, are we just getting people moving out of older buildings into the city into newer buildings into the city, or are we actually adding numbers to the city? And the reason I bring this up is because what happens to those buildings that are being unoccupied? Do they become slum landlords? So I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
Thank you. So you would like to see a siding sample? I think we want to see a landscape, a detailed landscape.
Now, you're saying that it's not vinyl siding, it's hardwood?
It's engineered wood.
No, that gray part, but the rest of it's vinyl.
Right.
Yeah, the horizontal, as we have it depicted right now,
Right.
the horizontal siding is vinyl. The vertical siding is engineered wood. So it's a mix of the two right now.
So it's red vinyl siding? Reddish, brickish?
Yeah. The color is Colorado red, is what it's called.
But you're now proposing that it would be?
We can look at making that engineered wood siding as well.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
Do you have details on the exterior lighting?
All the lighting is at the porches and the patios. It's all recessed up, so it shines down. So everything that we have is down. Yeah, this again, all the entries are recessed back into the building. So all of the can lights will be recessed up to shine down. So it's all dark sky compliant. Same with all of the box lights in the parking lot. Those are all.
You're going to have full lights too?
Yes, and they're all down lights
Yeah.
with cutoff fixtures.
And I think I asked last time, and you mentioned that you were researching that the decorative arch and
These?
railings would be metal.
Yep.
You're still thinking that that's a possibility?
Yes. Yep.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to say? I think we should table it. What does everybody else think? Until we see some of the submissions next month that everybody's looking for.
Would it be possible to approve it with the condition that we come back with the vinyl and with the landscape plan?
No. Well, my concern is that because we won't be able to see it, so, and I really want to see the specific detailed landscaping.
Well, it wouldn't be final without you approving those. I'm just saying we could know that the project can move forward.
And even though it was submitted today very late, I would like to look through this and sort of digest some of the public comments. I think it would be better to table it. What is your opinion, board?
Yeah, I'm getting so much feedback on this, and it is a huge thing in the community.
Yep, I don't think there's a need to rush it.
We understand.
Yeah, I'd love to, not leave it in limbo, but it is a huge thing for our community.
Yep, we understand.
It's just, and because it's such a great spot, it really is a big thing for our community.
That's fine.
Okay, so I will put glasses on and.
Rachel, should we get copies of the stuff?
The letters? Yes.
Emily, you have copies?
I did, yeah. We actually have emails. I think this is only a really hard copy, so I can probably leave
That's
them. Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion that we table, I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board table the site plan and architectural review of Washington Square project, applicant Patent Property Development Corporation, seeking architectural site plan review for construction of a 54 one-bedroom residential apartment units until, including public hearing, until December meeting 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
They're up here somewhere.
Are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Tabling it till next month. Public comment is closed. We'll table the decision till then. Okay, passes. Thank you, everybody.
Do we have those pictures that?
Thank you. They're part of the record. We'll get it. Part of the record. Part of the record.
They're part of the record.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Folks, we're going to keep moving because we have about 10 more things on our agenda tonight. So please move out in the hallway for the chat. The next thing on the agenda is site plan review for Matthew Killian, representing owner of tax map commonly known as 21 Bay Street, seeking site plan review for the purpose of opening a restaurant. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Peter Hoffman. I've been lucky enough to work in the city of Glens Falls for the past 20 years. And over that time, we've done 16 properties.
Excuse me for just one second. Can we shut that door? Do you mind? Thank you.
We've done 16 predominantly historic renovations. We've not built a new building in downtown. And thankfully, our properties are predominantly all full, all apartments, all commercial. Tonight, we're here first to talk about 21 Bay Street. 21 Bay Street is a close to 50,000 square foot building that we purchased back in 2015. It was a boarded up building with no inhabitants. We converted the building to 37 apartments on the second, third, and fourth floor. The first floor is commercial space. In this project, currently we have one restaurant in renovation right now, hopefully opening next month. We have this is on the ground floor. We have a insurance company, and we have a hair salon. We had a space that was originally, when we renovated it, it was called a Sip and Canvas, which was, they had a little bar inside the place, and they did paintings. It became a gallery after that, and now the gallery has moved out, and we have an opportunity to lease it to the Killians. The project will not affect anything outside at all. There's no change to the outside of the building. It will remain the same. And it's a modest renovation inside, where they're putting in their kitchen appliances to open up a small Italian restaurant. So.
Would you like to start? Yeah. I have no concerns or issues with the restaurant going in that space.
Okay.
I assume that for any signage, that'll be submitted as its own
That'll be a separate
application.
Yes.
I have no concerns whatsoever.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak to this application? Okay. Mr. Lamprey, would you like to start?
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of ready to go already as far as other than the interior features and the new equipment and so on. I don't know if I have any other questions at this point. It seems pretty cut and dry and so on and so forth.
How big is that space?
It's about 1,200 square feet.
Oh, okay.
I have no questions or how many seats will be there? What's the sitting?
Yes.
We don't know yet. They're gonna tell us because we only have one bathroom that's like a unisex bathroom. So I think they tell me how many I can see. I really don't.
All right.
And then you'll be catering out of there, right?
Yeah. Full delivery, eating, takeout, catering.
All right. No questions or comments?
Mr. Belvin?
No, I don't really seem to have any issues with it. It's just, opening that space back up for another business downtown, which we heard earlier in the evening, we have a lot of commercial space that's empty.
I can't testify to that, thankfully.
All right.
And again, Ms. Robin, you've done a great job on your buildings. This is a beautiful building, and everything, all the ships rise with the tide, as they say, so another business downtown.
Thank you.
I don't see an issue there. Appreciate it.
21 Bay, is that Bay and Maple?
It is. Actually, it's got 14 maple on it too. Which Siam Thai is in there, so at that restaurant.
And to echo what Art said, just keep doing the good work you've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
This is a short walk.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I do have one question.
Sure.
So, where will you be getting your food deliveries? Will they be?
In a lot of our different properties, what they end up doing is coming in the morning. It has no rear entrance to it, so they pull up, unload their deliveries, and typically in front of the building. Like this has usually got open parking, either on the park side or the other side, and they roll there.
Just wheel everything in?
Yeah, it's kind of an urban way to do it, I guess. It's kind of like. Thank you.
And there's no dedicated staff parking there, right? It doesn't have.
There isn't. We have on-site parking as well that we just purchased another lot next door. So parking isn't a problem for us there.
And I know you're not really required to have it there. You're not really required anyway.
No, we always do that with our.
Right.
We always do that with our properties. When we buy a building or do a property, we kind of account for that. So this has been done.
Yeah, I agree with everything. Stuff you've done is beautiful. And
Wow.
I think it's going to be great to have something in that space.
Thank you.
Concerns. So with that said,
With respect to seeker, I would classify it as a type 2, no further action is required.
Okay. Then I would like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Site Plan Review, approve the application of Matthew Killian. What's your name? Is it?
Mine? I'm Robert Killen, I'm his father.
Okay. Representing have map number 302.20-24-16, commonly known as 21 Bay Street, as presented at the meeting of November 5th, 2024. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
Thanks, guys. I think I'm still up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, please leave a note.
So now you need to cover what's in the original.
Right, do the next one.
Okay, perfect.
41.
What about that? Huh?
141.
A twofer.
Wait a long time.
Well, I don't have to tell you who I am. But this particular building is 140 Glen Street, which right now there's Crude Coffee and it is one of my tenants. Up above on the second and third floor, there's 9 apartments, and then we own the building directly next door, which is where Edward Jones is and B&K Communication and so on in the brownstone next door. But this particular building, we have a spot that was really, since we restored the building back in around 2006, we did a full restoration on this building. And Teresa Sayward, the original, well, not the original assemblyman, but an assemblyman who was here for a long time, took over the space, and it went through Dan Steck and eventually to the current assemblyman, it slips my mind. But that when they thank you, Matt Simpson. And when they redistrict our area, we lost Matt Simpson as a tenant, and the space became vacant. So about a year ago, it became vacant, and we have had an opportunity to work with some great people, and they want to put a restaurant in this space. It's going to be no modification, again, to the outside of the building. We just recently repainted the building this fall, repainted the outside, and spruced up the outside of the building. It is 840 square feet. It's pretty much standalone. There's no rear exit, entrance or exit as well, so it's the same condition as the other properties.
And I think you said in your application, no cooking, there's
No,
not
they have no
kitchen.
cooking on premises.
Everything's going to be brought from a commissary kitchen.
Bowl, if you know what that concept is, bowls, my wife loves them, acai bowls and salads and. Yes, and their name is Bowl, and it's a small chain originated in Schenectady, New York. So these folks have got experience. Yeah, and they make your bowl with all the stuff in it, right?
I thought it was going to be a coffee shop.
No, the coffee we have
And I was gonna
my
ask
next
you,
door
why
neighbor
you
wouldn't
were
look
opening
like
a
that.
coffee shop next to-
No.
This is funny because we didn't hear about it.
Yeah, well, fortunately, there's synergy between them, so we're pretty pleased with that idea.
Really great. No, okay. And I have no comments. No concerns, no comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Landry, do you want to start? Oh, I'm sorry, wait, does anyone from the public like to comment on this application? Sorry, Mr. Landry?
You answered my one question, which was about the no cooking on site.
No.
So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know that's a very popular concept today.
Yeah,
We
I
actually
guess
choose
more
one
than
of
I
our
thought, yeah.
beach sites that we go to because they have a bowl space there.
Does your wife like it more than you, or?
Stone Harbor, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But does your wife enjoy it more than you do?
Yeah, we get one on the way in, we get several while we're there, and then we get,
She always goes out with my daughter and gets them when we're on travel, so yeah.
it's good.
Thank you.
So, no, I have no questions. Like I
Thank
say,
you.
I'm very familiar with the building. The building looks the best it's ever been. And
Thank
like
you.
I say, I think this is some, I like the concept that it's something new and unique.
It's never good enough for us,
Yeah.
though, Mr.
Yeah.
Landry. We try to keep kicking them up a little bit.
Yeah, so no, I have no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Belvin?
No, I have no issues.
Super.
No questions or comments?
No concern.
Okay. I have no concerns either. I agree. I think bringing something different to the city is going to be really cool.
We need food service. We need food service as the apartments grow and as the, it all steps up and.
Well, and it's just a different, it's a
Yeah,
different.
And it's
Well,
very
it's-
on point right now.
It is.
It's very
It
generous.
is.
This before, but we keep, there's a lot of apartments that are, you know, on the docket here that are coming in, building more businesses, and maybe we'll get to that stage where we can get a grocery store and some other things down.
I don't think, you don't have enough room for it, unfortunately, to put a grocery store already, meaning, if you put a small grocery store that's got a specialty shop, they've got to charge more money. And people say, I'll go over to Hannaford, Price Chopper. So I think you're pushing a rope up a mountain, you know.
We've got parking lots.
Yeah, Park and M has their little shop going, so,
Yeah.
see, I mean, you need more and more business.
Which I'd love to get, I think they call them something in the city, and I can't remember what the hell the name is.
Bodega?
I was going to Bordello, but I knew that was wrong. Bodega.
All right, so are we ready to make a motion, Ms. Colgan?
With respect to seeker,
Sorry.
I would classify this as type 2, no further action is required.
Great. Thank you. Is everyone in favor then? Sounds good. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as a board of site plan review, hereby grant site plan approval to SP 24-0011 Pash LLC, owner of tax map number 309.28-4-7, commonly known as 148 Glen Street, for the project, I just said that, it's presented at the meeting of, what's today? November 5th, 2024.
Election day. Huh?
Yeah.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
I just got one question. There used to be a little old guy up there. Is he still with us?
He's coming back.
He's not even listening.
He's going to make a reappearance.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, moving right along, the next item on the agenda is site plan review for Shannon Hart Hume, representing owner of tax map commonly known as 72 South Street, seeking site plan review for the purpose of opening a restaurant and bar. Also architectural. Oh, I'm sorry, and architectural review, sorry.
So bear with me, I'm a little nervous, I get
Take your
nervous.
time, it's all good.
All right.
Can we have your name and your address, please?
Yes, I'm Shannon Harhume. I live at 1110 Copeland Pond Road in Fort Anne, New York.
Thank you.
This is,
I'm Philip Hume. I also live at 110 Copeland Pond, or 1110 Copeland Pond Road in Fort Anne, New York.
Thank you.
and
Sure.
I'm Noah Eiler. I live on 164 South Street.
Thank you. Tell us about your project.
Okay, so I'm sure you guys all know 72 South Street. It was formerly Dizzy's Chicken, and it's been empty, I believe, since 2017. Our project, other than beautification, isn't going to structurally change anything. The signage is already there and exists. This is a slight example, rough example of the paid spots that I supplied in my submission. Inside, we plan on, thank you. Inside, we're planning on removing a full wall and putting in 92 feet of granite, and then a full banquette along the wall with tables and seating. In total, we're looking to seat around 40 people in the winter, and then early fall, summer, and late spring. I did that backwards. We hope to have outdoor seating as well. It's behind. We have a whole big empty spot behind us, and that faces the parking lot for, I believe, apartments and for the hospital parking back there as well. We also have a driveway that we share 10 feet of a easement, thank you, for the neighbor that doesn't seem to exist. And then the rest of the driveway is ours for our private parking and for deliveries. So the trucks can either pull into currently where they do now, which is to the left of Beamer's bar, and they back in there and they seem to bring goods into their location, or they can pull right back into our driveway for deliveries. So the concept for the restaurant is very different than anything else in Glens Falls that I've seen so far. We are doing as authentic a food as that we as Americans can do as far as representing Korean, different areas of Italy, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern food. Both Philip and myself have worked around the country. We have visited many places outside the U.S. We have very capable careers, so we really have a good concept of what we're going to be bringing to the restaurant. But by no means I'm a Korean, so I can't say that I'm doing fully 100% Korean food, right? And we're in America, the ingredients just aren't the same. So, and no one comes, as a long-term resident working in Glens Falls, and working in a company for over 7 years. So, we're just adding to the community as we see it, and bring business to the community and something different. So, limited cocktails, we're not going crazy with the bar. The hours will be, no later than 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm not looking for any kind of late night or anything crazy like that.
Just dinner, not lunch.
I'm actually going to try to do lunch as well. And then like a family style setting for Sundays where you come in and it'll be like, let's just say like our first couple of weeks will be a pasta, homemade meatballs and sausage, and homemade focaccia. And that being said, everything is scratch made. Everything, soup to nuts. So from our breads to our pastas to our dumplings to our kimchi, like literally everything will be made in-house. So we've invested quite a bit of our own money that we saved or took, from our home, to be honest. And so we're very committed to making this work, and we're hoping that you guys will approve it. Any questions?
We'll start with our architectural consultant.
Yeah, and you know what, I interestingly didn't have a hard copy of all the applications, so I was wondering about the colors, but I just saw this, so this is the color scheme.
Yes, and which should reflect almost perfectly here, except that we're missing one color, which will be here will be the blue color, and we're actually going to do every other one of these the blue color. So
Trying to bring the building down to more of an earth tone kind of thing.
And
it's that fluorescent green right now, which is
wonderful change to the exterior. I agree with it 100%. I think it would be a welcome improvement. And then you will have to just submit this as its own separate sign application, but again.
And again, it exists, the signage exists there,
like
so we're
the
not
space
changing
for the
it at
sign,
all.
so we're not putting an exorbitantly large sign.
No, it's exactly
Yeah.
what's
Right.
existing.
Are you doing any new exterior lighting on the outside of the building?
I have, right now, there is one light above the actual sign itself. If we do anything, we might draw that light down because it's very bright, and then maybe put in like two attached to the building.
Spotlights to kind of
Just be
light the front of the
aware
building.
that lighting has to be full cutoff lighting so that you're not creating light pollution.
Okay.
Up into the
Understand.
sky.
Absolutely.
It'll be
Building department
under that
is-
awning.
Yeah.
Can point
Yep.
you at the specific requirements for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, that would be helpful.
From an architectural point of view, those look like improvements to the building, and it sounds like a nice space.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this application? Would you like to start, Mr. Hampton?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
What about the name? Where did that come from?
So the name came from the principal idea, again, that we are really going to try to commit to doing exceptionally authentic cuisine, but as much as that we can. I really believe that as Americans, we all came from different places and we came here, and the beauty of Americans is that we took from what is, in the surrounding culture, what we grow, what we harvest, what we raise. It's not going to be the same as what you find in Korea or in Italy. I mean, we've traveled to some of these places, and it's really different. So we can only be so authentic. The name isn't meant in any kind of derogatory or playful, or I'm a rather serious person, or meant to cause insult in any way, shape, or form. The actual definition of the name is to, I have to
alter something
What's that?
To alter something beyond its original.
That's not what it says on Google, or you look it up anyway.
There's more than one definition.
The adjective for it is actually that when we looked it up in the dictionary, and again, it's not meant to, I didn't think we were gonna have this kind of reaction over it. We just really mean to create a cuisine and then kind of Americanize it. And to do that, you bastardize it.
I mean, I agree with you 100%, but this is hometown USA too.
Right.
And my mother just passed away about a year and a half ago, and she was 98.
Right.
And she would see that sign and ban her kids from ever going. So it's just public perception you gotta think about.
I do truly respect that, but only, and I don't want to be argumentative.
No,
Okay.
we're just,
But it is our First Amendment right,
Right.
and
I was
it
just gonna say,
is.
the board has no jurisdiction
Right.
over what
Yeah.
Yeah.
business.
Right.
Yeah.
we're just trying to be helpful, because like I say, it's gonna
Cause an issue.
I kind of applaud it too, because it's gonna draw a lot of attention to it.
It wasn't intentional. You know? Apparently it is. We realized as soon as the article hit for the Chronicle, it was like, oh my God.
Because I am the nerdy English teacher, it does, for the adjective version, it does say of a thing no longer in its pure or original form. So it does, you know.
Yeah.
And again, it's a new concept. You know, as far as all from scratch, I just got back from Italy, and it's different.
It is.
It's so different.
It's so regional. It's all about, you
There's no
know.
preservatives in it, you don't
Yep.
feel full, you get to eat all you want. You know.
Well, come and eat all you want.
The other thing I want to really let people understand is that we are kind of approaching this from some different viewpoints. We plan on trying to use all local farms for our beef, all local farms for our pork.
Right.
We are trying to work with the farmers market for vegetables. We are trying to work with farmers for vegetables all throughout the season that we can. We plan on being as sustainable as humanly possible to work with only fair trade coffees. You know, we're not like granola crunchy, but we care, you know, so, and I don't want to come off as, you know, high-roading or anything like that, but we are adding, we genuinely believe we're adding to the community, so.
Well, you are.
You know.
I just think that's, as you market this thing going forward, you want to emphasize all that, and maybe the name will become less.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
paint
think-
it on the wall.
Yeah. I think, you know, partly because I am the nerdy English teacher, I wasn't as put off by it because I hear much worse things in the halls of the high school. So honestly, like even, you know, I again, as a word nerd, I love it. So
Yeah.
We've got mixed reviews.
I know, come check it out. Let me get back up so we go in order.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Belden.
No, that spot's been sitting there empty.
Yeah,
Michelle,
we'd love to build South Street so it's something that people are using the entirety of, you know, and obviously the farmer's market's coming and that's going to change things a lot down there. We have all that housing going in there. And so we're hoping that we fill that demand and we can kind of create an anchor on the end of that street to hem it in, essentially.
And as you've heard, people are very concerned with reusing buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not hearing this, but you're doing exactly that.
Right.
So that's nice to see, and I think everybody is excited for it.
So my only,
Yes.
you guys are done?
Are you done? Are you done? Yes.
Okay, so my only question is,
Yes.
that wall, is that gonna be a full wall or a half wall, like this wall
So-
between the kitchen and the dining room?
That's going to be, so where the bathrooms meet, actually, would you like to?
Yeah, so that's basically the finished idea right there. What's there is that that wall that goes through the center runs almost down the entire building.
Will it go
Yeah.
up to the ceiling? That's what I'm asking.
It does in the back, and then basically we're removing a section of that wall that, and we're leaving a pillar that's an architectural pillar. So there's no structural changes to the building at all. It's
I'm
just
curious
a
if
false
people
wall.
will be able to see in the.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
yes, it's
it's
open kitchen concept.
fully open kitchen.
That's what I was wondering.
She'll be able to, you know, make your food while she looks at you and vice versa. So,
I mean, listen, I I love the idea of bringing as many different types of food, because one of the things that has brought so many people to this area is our restaurants. So I appreciate any, different, we had a Japanese foreign exchange student here for a week, and that was, we had a lot of conversations about food and experiencing different food. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. Mr. Lampy?
I don't have any comments. I think everything looks pretty good.
Great.
Good luck.
Excellent. Well, with that being said, I would like to make a motion.
With respect to seeker, it's a type 2, no further action is required.
That being said, I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the board of site plan and architectural review for the applicant Shannon Hart Hume, representing owner of tax map number 309.28-2-10, commonly known as 72 South Street, is granted approval for both site plan and architectural review as presented at the meeting of November 5th, 2024. Second, all in favor? Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Actually, may I ask, who do we submit that signage to?
The building.
The building is out? Okay, yep, thank you.
Next on the agenda is site plan review and architectural review. Margaret Gerard, owner of tax map commonly known as 109 and 115 to 117 Warren Street, seeking planning board review and approval for 69 new apartments.
Good evening. For your records, my name is Ethan Hall. I'm principal with Brzezinski Hall Architecture. With me tonight is Joe Lucci, Foothills Builders. I think we've been over the project a number of times. We are considered under new business because of the change that was made, and Philip asked us to fill out a new application, so we're being considered under new business, even though we've been through this several times. The existing site is on Warren Street. The existing buildings are this building, which is being used by Gerard for storage, and then there's pretty much an abandoned garage in the back. Drops down the back of the hill to Oakland Avenue, fronts on Warren Street. The layout of the new building is an L shape with the majority of the parking behind the building. The facade, which faces Warren Street, has the one entry coming in now. If you remember, as we talked about at the last meeting, our first floor is a little bit different in that we are all apartments now. We had taken away the commercial aspect of it. We do have a small portion of the building that can be utilized as a commercial space, but it is set up to be apartments. This area here, if somebody was looking for commercial space, but as we discussed several times this evening, that's really not something that anybody's really looking for right now. This is the front facade of the building. We've gone back to the other colors that we started with originally. We do have the brick that is all on the first floor with the stone accent on the bottom, and then the main entry is brick all the way to the top. We've changed the front of the facade to be peaked members. We have the engineered wood siding running vertically, and then this is flat panels in here with trim pieces around them, and then the double hung windows for all of the apartment buildings. As you turn around the east side of the building, this color scheme will continue, and then as you get around to the back side of it, it will change to a more traditional apartment style on the back. Otherwise, I don't think there was a whole lot of changes from the last time we were here. Any other questions?
Was there garages or something initially on this project?
No.
No, the storage.
Yeah, originally the first floor in the back part of the building was conditioned storage.
Our architectural consultant.
Yeah, I mean, after the changes that you made when you changed the business plan on this, I still think it looks very nice. It'll be a nice addition to that section of the city spot, which is where we need some good development.
Thank you.
And, yeah, I guess you're gonna have to have some flexibility on the first floor. Maybe it'll be commercial, maybe not, but
We do have that space set aside that could be rented out as commercial space if somebody was looking.
there's a little bit of precedence for ground level apartments right along there anyway.
Right, yeah, the old shade has been made all into ground floor apartments, there's a couple other ones, the Warren Street.
No, I think it'll be a great improvement to that part of town. I don't have any other.
Okay, is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this application? Mr. Lampier, do you want to start this time?
Do you, maybe I just didn't see it yet, have a planning schematic for this as well?
Planting?
Yeah.
Yes. The landscape plan is on the proposed drawing. You can see the landscaping here. We're planting trees within the space. We're planting plantings along the front of the building where our original layout was concrete from the face of the building all the way to Warren Street to be used for commercial space. It's now green space. It'll actually be planted grass between the front of the building and the sidewalk.
You were talking about having planters on the actual building too, right?
We took those out.
We took those out,
Yeah. Where are
Sorry.
the rooftop units now?
What's up?
You did have rooftop units up there.
Yeah, the roof, that was when we had a flat roof.
Right, where's all of that equipment now? Is it?
It's all ground mounted behind the building and along the sides here. So, nothing out front.
Try and hide it as best we can, tuck it away between.
All right, so the front will be grass.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we're completely planted from the front of the building all the way out. You can see there are small planters in front of each one of the buildings,
Yep.
or each one of the bump outs.
What kind of trees are going to be put up?
So we've got called out for Japanese crabapple and honey locust.
Okay.
So the crab apples obviously will flower in the spring, and the honey locust is the small leaves that tend to grow very quickly.
Okay. I have a crab apple tree right in front, you know, that one by the garage? Yeah. Yeah, okay. They just become weapons sometimes for the children walking by. Just FYI, it was, or, just FYI. Sorry to keep that kind of took over.
No, that's fine. We're on the same page.
It was because the landscaping is the biggest. How many parking spaces do you have?
106. We are required to have 104.
Okay. And how many apartments, how many units?
69.
Okay. All right. Could I request that if you ever have extra space to put more trees or landscaping of some sort?
Yeah, our goal is to make the property look as nice as possible, so if there's an opportunity for us to improve it, we will.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Can't make it look worse than it does right
correct.
now.
That's what I was just gonna say, like, it's going to be a huge improvement for that area.
Well, you're put back further from
Well,
sidewalk now.
the gold shade is here, the old Lazarus building, which is now the church, is here, and our building is pulled back from that, so as you come down, and then as you come further down, you get Simon's Heating and Cooling, which is, further setback.
So you could do more landscaping if you wish out front.
Right.
I guess is where I was going.
Yeah.
Especially since there's ground level apartments.
Right. Yeah, that's why we kind of put the planters out in front of them. These, unlike the other ones, don't have sliding glass doors in the front. So that front facade, these are all windows.
Right, their entrances are.
Their entrances are from within, yep.
So the main point of entry onto Warren Street for all the apartments.
Right.
You've got what, 15 two-bedroom and 54
21, I think.
one-bedroom?
21 two bedrooms.
21 twos and
3, unless I counted wrong earlier.
the biggest apartment square foot wise. I was trying to figure that out. I thought it would be a corner one, but it's.
Which one?
207 and 307 are the biggest square foot wise.
So,
It's because they pick up the extra space from the hallway.
above
from
the
first floor.
entryway? So 207, the entryway is at 107.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's just out of curiosity. I was just wondering why that one was bigger.
You've got this entryway
Yeah.
here. And on the second floor, we picked that up in the second bedroom, which is big bedroom.
Mr. Lampier, we sort of jumped over you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
How about traffic on that? Or, I mean, there's pretty good.
We're coming out onto Warren Street, which is the major in and out
Right.
through the city, you know. And that's where our original drive is. The existing drive that was there, obviously, there's a curb cut that starts here and comes all the way across. So this was a car dealership. We've cut this down to a 24-foot in and out on the east end of the
Are you
building.
going to designate ingress and egress on that because it is such a big curb cut?
Well, our curb cut's only 24 feet.
Pardon me?
Our curb cut's only 24 feet. We've got one access. I'm saying what's there now is a complete curb cut all the way across, because it used to be a car dealership, and they had cars going in and out all over the place. We're cutting it down to a single 24-foot drive in and out. Yep. And we're on the east end of the lot, which is closest to the traffic signal. Which will help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Art, anything you'd like to comment?
No, they've done a bunch of reviews and it changed, and there's obviously plenty of parking, looks nice. It's an empty spot that's down there, we'll love to see some commercial in it, but I understand where we are right now. And you've left that an option down the road if it turns out where there's a huge demand.
Right.
It puts that, a big taxable property, on the city rolls. So I don't really have an issue. Ethan, you've drawn a great looking building there.
Very good, me too.
Thank you. Mr. Landry?
I like the idea that it's a mixture of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. I feel like we're on the precipice of becoming like a college dorm type community. And I think we need more of a variety of units like that. I'm not an expert on it. Just kind of my personal opinion. You mentioned with the scaled back version that you're going to be doing this all at once now, as opposed to the
Yes.
Right, stages. Okay.
And one more thing before.
Yeah.
You said engineered lumber on the outside of that, and
It'll be like an LP Smart Side, similar to what we used on.
Yeah,
Metro.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, no vinyl siding?
Not
on the front.
The back portion away from the street will have traditional siding. Again, it's broken up into horizontal and vertical, so it's not just a complete mass of horizontal. It's horizontal and vertical.
Okay. And, I like the idea of the rooftop sounded great at first, but the look of that building really blends in. It's not going to be a flat roof with a parapet and institutional type building. And great use of that eyesore that's there now. And, like I say, I like the concept of this project, the fact that it's within walking distance of Glens Falls and not really right on top of Glens Falls and crowded out.
Mhm.
So, I have no questions. I think it looks great.
Thank you.
I agree. I appreciate all the revisions you've done and what kept bringing back to us. I think the green in the front's going to be really nice, the grass. I think it's going to just soften that front of it. I think it'll be great.
Absolutely.
No, everybody's asked questions and concerns I have.
Seeker, with respect to seeker, I would classify this as an unlisted action, therefore, the applicant has supplied part 1, we need to review part 2. Number 1, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation?
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? No or small impact, it was a car dealership. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? No. Public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna?
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
No. Based upon the board's review, the board could issue a negative declaration.
Okay, and I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board hereby accepts lead agency status for the application of Margaret Gerard, owner of tax maps number 310.5-4-4 and 310.5-4-2, commonly known as 109 and 115 to 117 Warren Street. The board has determined the action to be a negative, an unlisted action, and has reviewed the short form environmental assessment, and upon documentation and discussion, issues a negative declaration. Second? Second. All in favor?
And I know you guys have gone through this and we wouldn't be going forward with this project. That, you didn't have any environmental issues with that site, or very minimal?
Very minimal. We've done phase 1 and phase 2 on the property, so just about everything crossed out.
That is cleansed. It was just for my knowledge, because I know it had to be answered for you to be here, so.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Architectural and Site Plan Review, hereby grant architectural and site plan approval for the project identified as Margaret Gerard, owner of the tax maps number 310.5-4-4 and 310.5-4-2, commonly known as 109 and 115 to 117 Warren Street, as presented at the meeting of November 5th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next on our agenda is subdivision review, Patent Property Development LLC, owner of the tax map commonly known as 48 Haviland Avenue, seeking planning board review and approval of a lot line adjustment for 4 parcels.
Should have just stayed up.
Hello.
So these drawings are done both directions, so I'm going to hang 2 drawings and change them as we go through. The original, good evening, for your records, my name is Ethan Hall, principal of Resistance Hall Architecture. Here tonight representing Patent Properties on a property that's on Haviland Avenue and Thornbury Drive. The property is this one that's in question here. It's a 1-acre parcel now. There is a house being constructed on Haviland Avenue that faces Haviland Avenue. It's a very narrow lot. This used to be the rail line that came down through there. It was abandoned years ago. Most of the property was owned by John and Jean Donovan. This portion of it was broken off so that they could sell it. The rest of it is landlocked. It does not have frontage on any street. So they, years ago, 2004, 20 years ago, this parcel was broken off to be put for sale. Chris purchased it earlier this year. He is in the process of building a single-family residence here. He's talked with the 3 neighbors on Thornbury Drive that abut this property, and has offered to sell them, now I have to turn it on its side, a portion of the back of the lot for each of the adjoining properties. And they've all agreed that they would be in favor of buying a small piece of property out there to increase the property in the back of their lots to give them a little more property. So this lot, and this lot would be absorbed into these three. So technically this is a boundary line adjustment, but it's considered subdivision. So here we are tonight.
The one lot looks like the garage is actually already.
It's already over it. Yeah, there's a couple of them. When these lots were developed on Thornberry, they were kind of, in fact, one of them has been doing clearing, let's say, on the back part of this lot for years. So that is what we're here for. We're just looking to get the approval of the board so that we can get this map filed, sell these three parcels to these people, and continue with the construction of that. Yep.
And that meets all the criteria, it's.
Yes. This is an existing, or this is a proposed lot that meets the zoning criteria, and
It's all surveyed, we know, well, obviously you're gonna cut that up, so we're gonna
yes.
know where you're.
And one of the things that I went through with PJ was lot coverage when we did this, because it was an acre lot before, we were way over. Even by doing this, when you look at the proportions of it, we're still at 84% non-permeable with this lot, which it's required to be.
And making the other lots bigger.
And making the other.
And making the other lots bigger.
And it's a great thing for the neighborhood, so.
Yeah, well, these ones just get significantly deeper. I mean, this is 100-foot wide lot. So each of these two properties is gaining 100 feet in depth. And again, this one gains 100 feet, but it's a pie shape because it kind of goes at the angle.
Nice. So what is the issues?
What's that?
Absolutely no concerns. Anybody in the audience have anything to comment on this application? Mr. Lankier? Sorry.
Hello. Hi. My name's Paul Morehouse. I reside at 50 Haviland Avenue, which is right next door. They're doing a very good job developing a single residence there. My only concern, just to make sure from my own knowledge, no development of those other pieces of property that border that. They're just divvying those properties up, parcels up to the people that currently live there.
They currently live.
All right.
Yeah, Rick Whitmore owns this one. The Clappers live here, and Fleming Wench live here, and it's just extending their lots back and taking up that wooded space. Like I said, Rick's already in helping.
I mean, at some time they could build a garage or something.
What's that?
They could build something.
They could build a garage or something like that.
Shed or something.
Shed.
But it's landlocked, so they can't, nobody.
Exactly. That was my thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, they couldn't put another house down there.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lankier, anything?
No concerns?
Okay.
Looks good.
Ms. Collier, do you have anything you want to comment? Anything?
No questions or comments.
No issues. I think it's a nice thing and a nice thing to do with that property.
Mr. Lankier?
I concur with that. I'm surprised at the size of the house that's being built and how big that lot. Where it's on a hill, it was very deceiving.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's a nice addition.
Yeah.
So I have no concerns.
I agree. It seems like it works out well for everyone involved, so. Okay. That being said, no, okay. I'd like to make, what is it? Special permit. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Subdivision Review. Sure. Okay. Hereby approve the application of Patent Property Development LLC, owner of tax map number 309.15-8-50.2, commonly known as 48 Haviland Avenue, for a lot line adjustment subdivision approval as presented at the meeting of November 5th, 2024. Second. All in favor?
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything else?
Yes.
All right,
Oh, you're
we're on the last page. A few more. Next on the agenda is Andritz Inc., owner of Tax Map, commonly known as 13 Pines Island Drive, seeking planning board review and approval for an open-air pavilion. Hi.
I'm Michael Kingsley, representing Andritz at 13 Pines Island Drive. We're simply trying to put a pavilion for the employees to have lunch and keep them out of the sun. Some picnic tables in there, maybe some Adirondack chairs. Nothing fancy. No trees are going to cut down, and it's just on the grassy area. Yeah.
And it's not, it's on a cement slab?
Cement slab, yes.
Is it going to be like lagged into the cement, bolted down?
Yes.
Into the cement? Okay.
Yes.
For architectural consultant, do you have any?
Well, it's site plan review,
So-
no architectural, I don't.
It's getting late.
It is getting late, it's been here a long time, I mean, this is on private land, and you're.
Yeah, we meet the offsets. Spoken with the code enforcement officer.
Mr. Landry, would you like, or was there anybody in the public who would like to make
Yeah, I don't
a comment about this application? Mr. Landry, any comments?
No objection,
No, basically, I mean, there's one down there now with Flowmatic, it looks nice.
Yeah, it's going to be basically the same exact thing.
I go by it all the time, there's always people in it.
Yeah. They gave us the extra.
So no, I think it'd be a nice addition to the project. I have no comment.
Thank you.
Barb, if it doesn't affect anybody else, it'd be a nice thing for the employees.
Ms. Colgan?
No questions or comments?
Mr. Landry?
Are you just a seasonal business?
No. No. This is Kmart.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious, because if you've got an open air pavilion, your
Well, they only use it in
pretty
summer.
cold in the wintertime.
Yeah, no, they're not going to use it in the
Are you
winter.
going to consider any other measures, curtains or any kind of stuff for winter conditions?
No.
Okay,
No.
just curious.
I've seen people in Flowmatics in the winter.
Well, yeah.
Well, this winter, they could be out,
There's some
you know,
party
tomorrow.
folk, yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't plan to enclose it in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, just curious, thank you.
Yeah.
I agree, I think it's a nice thing to have. No problems at all. Okay, so,
It's a type 2, no further action is required.
perfect. So I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board acting as the board site plan review hereby grant site plan approval for the project identified as Andritz Inc., owner of tax map number 309.16-23-4, commonly known as 13 Pines Island Drive, as presented at the meeting of November 5th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is sign board review. Saxon Sign Corp., representing owner of 194 Broad Street, seeking sign board review of 7 signs for Hoffman's Car Wash.
How you doing? My name is Ron Levesque with Saxon Sign Corp. I'm here to represent Hoffman Car Wash at the location 194 Broad Street. So what we had proposed to the board is a typical sign branding that we do for all the Hoffman Car Washes. And we first initially start by looking at what other signs are in the area that they're going in. So what we propose to you are signs that are commonly found in and around that area. We did not seek to exceed what is already there, but to minimize what's there. So we had proposed it's a total of 7 signs. We have one freestanding sign. We have 2 building signs. One is the branding, the Hoffman Car Wash at the peak of the building. We do have a neon open sign, and I can explain a little further in a moment why we have a neon open sign. We do have 3 directional signs because it's an exterior type of business where we tend to move a lot of cars around the area, and we need to let them know right away where they got to go and where they can go within the compound. If we do not do it properly, you'll see a backup on the main street. So that also presented itself why there's 3 car lanes coming in. And with 3 car lanes, we need 3 kiosks combinations, which are the menus and the automatic payment, so they can pay right there at the drive-through rather than waiting to go in front of the teller. With that being said, the freestanding sign has numerous components, which compose of the branding, electronic message board, an address, and a monument base. The neon sign, we use that because in the wintertime, because they're a car wash and because of the weather conditions, they tend to shut the overhead doors in inclement weather when it's really cold, and people don't realize they're open. So we use the neon sign to let them know that we are open. And then directional signs, we designed the directional signs that are in accordance with some of the regulations that are developed by the federal and state government highway department as far as the size and the shape and the color of the letters. So we use the same guidelines to do the directional signs. It's very important that people see them right away. We don't want them looking back and forth, left to right, to make sure they're going in the right direction. We want to point them in the right direction as speedy as possible. And then the kiosk signs are basically what you find at any typical drive-through that you have in the area. This sign, like I said, is consistent with what you'll find at Walgreens, Wellnow, Hannaford, Toyota, and so forth, all surrounding this location. Any questions?
Did you have an opportunity to go through all of the zoning regulations for signage in Glens
Yes.
Falls? I guess probably it makes the most sense to just go through sign by sign.
Okay, sure.
The A, B, C, D.
Sure.
So sign A is the monument sign, the freestanding sign.
Yes.
The image, the digital image.
Yes.
Is that a moving image? Will it change?
Um,
Or is that a static?
It's a static image. It can change. Just like the Walgreens, it has the same
But it's
identical.
not a TV, it's not like a TV that has.
Well, it's one of these things that it gets into the capabilities of it. No different than, say, for example, a speed limit. If you have a 35-mile speed limit, a car may have the ability, the capabilities of exceeding that. These signs have the capability of being animated. But they're basically used as static images to change for promotion.
Well, so I guess I'll quote from the Glens Falls signage regulations. No sign shall be erected which revolve or employ any motion or moving images, including moving lines of text.
That's why they're here today for sign review. If the signs conform to the city code,
Yep.
they would have to come in front of the board for sign
Yes.
review.
So are you asking then to have a sign where you're gonna change the images? Is
Yes.
that it? Okay.
Yes, but not animated.
Right.
Yeah,
It's changes.
basically a sign variance, because if it conformed to the code, we would approve it.
Correct. So more specifically then, I think there are restrictions on how quickly the.
Sure. And we can stipulate to whatever the code may be or whatever the board decides on the frequency of changing of the sign.
Okay. I had it here and I'll find it in a moment, but I think it has to do with safety, right? So we need to.
All the studies that I've ever seen is that there's no safety issue with electronic message board signs. It's same with New York State versus Lamar, where New York State brought up the safety issue, and they found out there was no safety issue, and New York State Department of Transportation lost to Lamar, and that's why you see digital boards on the highway now.
Is the
Same thing.
nature of what you're looking for in the sign variance, do you know exactly how quickly you'll rotate those images? Do you have a plan for that? Can you describe?
Yeah, that could be a multiple of different, say, 2 million different variations. So what we typically say, it's a static image, and if the board stipulates every 30 seconds, every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, then it'd be probably easier to agree, work with the board and stipulate a time frame rather than break down the equation of how often we could do it over a certain period of time.
Right, yeah, so that's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, so that's what we would do.
So what's your normal thing? Other places, how often do you do this?
Some of them stay on for 5-10 minutes, then they switch. It's kind of like what New York State has done with their highway signs. They have to stay on for a certain period of time. They don't want them to change. So when a car would to slow down to see what the next message is. So traveling at a certain rate of speed, they would have to keep it on for a certain period of time. Being on a slower moving area, they could be 1 minute, intervals. Then that way they'll give time for the cars to pass and the next message will go. Rather than being at the tail end of a message and it changes, them wanting to turn their heads. So those precautions we do take.
Yeah, I think there actually is something related to that in the zoning code, and I don't remember.
Motion, no sign shall be erected which revolve or employ any motion or moving images, including moving lines and text. The sign review board may grant an exception for signs changing or rotating to show time, temperature, or changing messages subject to its approval of the specific design. And reader boards are permitted only at commercial or industrial locations in commercial and industrial zones and shall be regulated as described in 180-6. Reader boards are not permitted at designated historical sites or in designated historical districts. This is not.
Right. And they have one right next door to this business.
Yeah.
There's one already currently.
And then, keeping with the monument sign, you're looking for a variance on the size of it.
It's 138 square feet, which is consistent with other signs in the area as far as the size and the shape go. The overall height is
The height
lower,
is
probably
18 feet from
right.
grade to the top
Yes.
of the Hoffman Car Wash, and you're counting the actual written areas as the
Yes,
sign
overall
area,
height, yes,
as opposed
18
to the
feet,
overall.
which is, like I said, consistent with the area as far as height goes.
And I just want to highlight for the board that 20, lot line must not exceed 25 feet in height. So the sign is larger than what the zoning says, but as you point out, it's in keeping. Right. So as you point out, it's in keeping with.
Consistent. I think Toyota's 20 and the one next to it maybe 25 feet. The Walgreens, well, no.
Right.
It's higher.
And can you tell us how close it is going to be to the road?
Yes, I think we have that right here on the front page. We have a 2-foot setback from the property line, and we have a 42 foot from the right side and 125 feet from the left side.
The right side of what?
If you're looking at the building, property lines. Those are setbacks are property lines.
On the west side?
If you're looking at the,
How far is it?
from the cross street,
From Broad Street.
Broad Street, that'd be your front setback. That'd be.
Where are your setbacks in here? I haven't been seeing them.
I think on one of the earlier site plans, it showed where, oh, there it is, yeah. It's that, yeah.
So it's, the front's 2 feet back from the property line.
Now, again, you're asking for a variance because 10 feet is what is
Yes.
called for.
Yes. And that's limited because of the parking spaces
Because if you moved it back, you would be
into a parking area.
into the parking area.
Yeah.
Well, unless it was in that finger that's there.
Yeah. I guess, I think one of the reasons why the distance, one of the reasons why the distance is asked for is visual clearance as you pull in and out of the driveway. And this is to boot a large sign, so, I just want to make that comment.
I wonder, would that prohibit if you're turning left out, the sign would be in the way?
Right. We would go by the New York State guidelines for visibility, which is called the viewing triangle. which if we're to go right to the corner of where it intersects, coming out, and where the main road is on Broad Street, and you go 25 feet back and 25 feet down the road, then you intersect it, no sign shall be within that viewing triangle. This is outside that viewing triangle.
And that's in that triangle.
That may be, but if you're pulling out, I think this is still going to be a visual problem if you're pulling out and taking a left.
Couldn't the sign be kind of incorporated into that little peninsula, or? You've got a division between the 3 in and out lanes and the 3 back lanes. There's kind of a little peninsula there. So,
It is.
Yes.
It's the blue box.
yeah, why couldn't it be put
Here,
Oh.
in that peninsula there.
That could actually be the peninsula, because I think, I agree, I mean, you're not gonna be able to see down Broad Street.
Well, they don't want that, because if someone's parked there vacuuming a car, you don't see
I
the
just,
sign.
yeah, I mean, I just think it's
You know?
the nature of our time to people.
But it seems like it's right up on the road like that, if you're trying to come in and out of there, that's gonna be an issue.
Again, like I said, we do incorporate the New York State, viewing triangle, which other municipalities have the same exact code within it. Just recently, we went through that with the city. They incorporate the same code. But bringing to your point, though, if bringing it back, if we were to bring it back, maybe we can bring it back to the curb line of where you see the vacuum parking.
Right.
Bring it back to that curb
Yeah,
line.
like this little, like in this little like lip thing.
So yeah, if we bring it back to the island portion, but bring it back so that it's equal to the far edge with the leading edge of the parking
I think it'll
spot.
still have high visibility because it is such a large sign. There's
They'll
another,
see you.
there is another line in the code that says signs within 5 feet of a sidewalk must be at least 10 feet above grade. And we ran into this with something a few months ago, and I think it had to do with traffic visibility. But, so just putting that out there.
Right, so if we were to bring it back, we probably would meet that guideline, the 5-foot guideline from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Could the sign be moved down to where the dumpsters are, where there's open space?
I wouldn't be able to stipulate that because I don't have the underground utilities map in front of me. So, and they tend to want to put it towards an entrance so that people are guided to the entrance area, especially when they're driving down the road.
What if you just had this and didn't have, this is so busy, the sign that's going to be moving and then the free vacuums, I mean, people know what Hoffman's is. What if you had that, then you'd have it open and you'd have a clear view, you could keep it where you are.
If we were
You'd
to,
have almost 8 feet of visibility, or more than that, you'd have 10 feet of visibility before you hit the Hoffman's car wash sign. And I think it would be less busy for that street.
again, like I said, we looked at all the other signs in the area and we try to keep it, not to exceed what's there, but to keep it minimum or less than. And
This seems a lot busier though than the other ones that have just one sign. This is 3 different signs plus the sign on top. I think it's a lot. This looks like the one in South Coast Falls. Is it very
Yes.
similar to that one?
yeah, South Glen Falls, it's all, pretty much all the locations,
The
they're
brand
all
new
the same.
Hawkins,
Yeah,
the
Cohoes,
same sign.
yeah, Oneana.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, and that one is on the right-hand side of Route 9, right? If you're going
Yes,
south.
exactly.
Yeah, which is like, to me, it's it's less congested.
Well, it's not a downtown area.
Right.
We're getting to, the
Right.
quarter of the
Yeah.
city.
Right.
That's set back a lot more down in South.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's a heavily heavily traveled pedestrian.
right, that's why we can move it back to, so meet that guideline, the 5-foot
That
guidelines.
sort of peninsula.
Yeah, but you're talking maybe a couple of feet, you can move it back?
Well,
It's hard to scale with it.
I think that she said 5 foot from sidewalk, so we can make sure we meet that minimum 5
Well,
foot
no,
sidewalk.
10 feet is what Glens Falls zoning says.
From the sidewalk?
From the property line.
Right.
10 feet is from the property line is what
Right.
our zoning says, and then anything that's 5 feet within a sidewalk.
5 feet sidewalk.
And I guess the argument that I would make is that it's a very large sign to begin with. We already discussed that it's well over the typical. So I think that given how that corridor is, if you pulled it back and when we're on that peninsula,
Yes.
there would be lots of visibility. So that's sort of my thought. But I'll let the rest of the board
I mean, I
discuss
think that specific car wash, everybody knows it's going there. So, I think it's well established, but, and that is like it's a, safety concern. So we would just have to know, like, what is the length on that? Yeah.
The length is, so it's 12 feet, and that includes the stone plinth, and then it's 18 feet high total.
Yeah, it's really high. So that would.
So the scale of it.
But if this is.
It's a lot smaller than Walgreens, right next door, and it's smaller than Toyota across the street in Hannaford. It's,
Are they right up on the side?
Toyota's up against the corner lot as well.
I think all that we were discussing, I think you were talking about the same thing, was getting into that.
Right, yeah, and I think we can try to work that out, where we can push it into that island area. I know that there's a lot of heavy trees with the Broad Street Commons, large building there, and tree line, they're gonna get pretty close to Hoffman's entry before they see the sign. So there is some kind of visibility issues there, and the further we push it back, may cause a lot of, and I've been through this numerous times where, it's those people at the last minute hitting the brakes, especially on a very busy street like that. We need to really think about safety and how people can actually see this from the furthest distance so they can prepare for their turn. And we really need them to prepare for their turn.
Well, nobody's going that fast.
Yeah. Traffic is so slow, you're not gonna.
Nobody goes fast on my county road either. But you see them fly by all the time.
And we can't, traffic studies. With the amount of traffic, like at busy times, with the amount of traffic, you can't go.
During busy times, correct.
Yeah. Well, and even when it's not, like even, even like Saturday morning, you're gonna still be able to see it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only comment I would have is if we're not sure, and, you have done this before, so you're aware, but we're not sure, our neighbors, we've got to figure out a way to quantify it, that's all, like establish the location that works, so that there's visibility and people aren't sitting on breaks.
Visibility is important, no different than this board or previous boards allowing Walgreens to have 3 signs on their building for visibility. No different than now having 3 signs on the building.
It's not the signs on the building, it's the sign by
it's the amount of signage that's on the property that brands it, where we're coming in at less than, sometimes extremely less than, others that are actually right next door and surrounding this property, and we're coming in well under that. And we took that into consideration.
That's not I feel like and I'm speaking for myself, the signs on the building aren't the issue. The sign location of the main sign is the issue.
And that's what we'd like to, address with the board, if they're, susceptible to allowing maybe to move the sign back. And we'll go back and we'll make sure that, there's no underground utilities in the way, no sewer, no water, other things that it'd be an acceptable place to put it. They're gonna have to realize that there is a vacuum there. It will block partial of it, but that's a consideration that they're going to have to make, office going to have to make, if they want this sign there.
I think what's different, I can appreciate where you mentioned Hannaford and Toyota, but those signs aren't located on the main entrance and exit. And to me, I'm just as concerned about people pulling out of Hoffman.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about them than the other guy driving by trying to figure out what the hell that is, because you know what it is. And I would think, from just a public safety thing, to me, this is like going out to the sidewalk, where you have to left, look, and right, you're building a wall. I mean, I know advertising and marketing is one thing, but this is, to me, you might as well put an 18-foot high, 6-foot wide stockade fence.
Right. I get your point. And this proposal would not have been proposed to the board unless it followed some safety guidelines.
Whose safety is it?
New York State Department of Transportation. And a lot of municipalities use the billing triangle.
Pull out, you can't see.
So this isn't a violation.
And it's a 35 mile, as I said, the traffic is very slow there. It's hardly moving, and it gives them ample opportunity. Probably some of these issues probably would have been addressed in the planning phases of knowing that there'd be a large volume of cars going up on Broad Street. Whereas I'm just here for the sign, and I want it to be compliant with your sign guidelines, but I'm not able to stipulate anything about cars traveling in and out.
But you're looking for relief on the signs, and I think what you're hearing is that people don't like this sign like it is. So I think.
But I don't think it's a safety issue with the sign, but that's what I'm hearing. But it's something that's been addressed already previously with the planning board about the flow of traffic going in and out. And as long as we make sure that we put it in the safe zone and not in the cover zone.
I don't think people want to see a big wall, so maybe take a look at other options for that sign there. Or moving it is what I would suggest.
I mean, I'll be
Well, it's
frank,
2 feet from the sidewalk, and your safe zone, you said is 25 by 25, right, that triangle?
Yes.
So if it was back on that thing, it's still in that safe zone.
Curb to curb. Curb to curb.
but I don't see how that can, I don't know. The reality is, we drive these streets, like
Right. Yep.
I drive these streets often, and I know, like, dealing with traffic on that road can be treacherous, and I think that having that sign where it is not appropriate for that street.
So you're saying that as drawn here, that doesn't violate any state?
No.
Okay.
I don't see how that is.
And like I said, we followed, we looked at all your signs in the area, and we're either comparable or less than what's already been given there.
In aesthetics you are, but they're not in the main.
Toyota, which is a wall sign from ground 20 feet in the air, it's just a solid wall, cladding 8 feet wide all the way up. And it's on a corner. It's on a corner.
It's on a corner grass lot.
Yeah, but
it's not near their entrance, which is probably 100 feet down the street.
As long as the visibility is there, and that's what I'm saying, that's all I'm here to attest to is the visibility.
I just gotta ask, you're 2 foot from the lot line.
Correct.
And in front of that is the sidewalk, and then in
Yes.
front of that is a strip of grass.
And then the curb, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's
You
a
gotta-
considerable
So
distance.
from the curb to the actual sign is probably more like 8 feet.
It could be more like 10 feet back.
Okay.
But I'll concede the 8
So
feet.
your car's gotta be on the sidewalk, straddling the sidewalk to see
To be able
the
to see.
street.
Yeah.
And the poor
Yeah.
guy behind him is gonna
Just like
follow
when you
with.
go out of Hanford, you're straddling the sidewalk.
Yeah, on every intersection you go to, I can't
Just like when you go
change
out of
that.
It doesn't have a sign there, though, a
No.
10-foot wide sign.
No.
Yeah.
So I think the difference is your emphasis is about getting people to come in. We're concerned about the people that
No.
are coming out.
I just want to be clear, Hoffman has the same concerns. Believe me, they're very community oriented. If you ever go to the facilities, you'll see how involved they are to have a nice facility in every community. Whereas, if you
I'm
say,
a Hoffman pastor.
yeah,
And I
so,
can pull out of Quaker Road anytime, there's no sign like that in my way.
right, but this one here, like I said, has to meet the safety guidelines, and they wouldn't come here before the board unless they had met those safety guidelines. And I understand the concerns. They could put a stop sign before the sidewalk, stop here, but it will not stop the people from rolling out to the corner to make that turn. Which is what New York State drivers' guidelines are. Stop at the stop sign, then you can roll out to the curb before you make the turn.
I would think Hawkins would be very concerned about just public perception, because the first time there's gonna be an accident or something there, which is inevitable, there's gonna be a lot of backlash to it.
There's gonna be, I know, there's gonna be an accident no matter where you come out of. It's just, it could happen.
I guess the
Why
question
case
is
it
the applicant willing to push it back
Yes.
as far as possible?
Yes, that's,
So that would be the condition of
Yes.
the board's approval.
yes, and I did concede to that. We will find a location to bring it back even further. And it was mentioned the island, and I said, I will go back and we'll look at the architectural engineering drawings and see if there's any obstacles underground that would prevent it.
Do that.
Yeah, let's take a look at these different plans.
Right.
And then we'll move it back to, is there any other issues on any other signs? So maybe
My
we
only
can
question
address
is-
them next time we come back.
No, my only question is, what time will the signs be turned off?
At the close of business, or any time later than that to stipulate, because they are a 24-hour facility.
No, you said it's 9 o'clock.
That was
Yeah, we
addressed
covered
at
9 o'clock, they said, yeah.
Right, but the vacuums are 24/7.
Yeah, we covered
No,
Covered that.
so
Sit
They were
there.
gonna shut down at 9 o'clock, the place will start.
Yeah,
Okay.
they said they were just shutting down.
Okay, so then typically 1 hour for security reasons after the close of business,
Right.
which is probably typical for most businesses. And if it's already been stipulated in the planning phase, yes, then they'll have to abide by that going forward with the signage as well.
So if you table this and you come back, When you do your drawing here,
Yes.
could you actually make sure that the board can see where the sidewalk is, if there's a grassy area between the sidewalk and the curb, and then
Yeah.
do the measurement from the curb to the sign?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll add the viewing triangle in there as well.
Yeah.
So we give a clear picture,
Yeah.
and we'll bring a close-up of it as well, just that area.
Could that be the scale as well?
Yes, and we'll bring also a close-up so that rather than seeing it on this full-scale page, we'll take a clip out of it and we'll bring it in so you can see it a little better.
I mean, you got a 5-inch gap in the bottom of the sign. Yeah, and it's 30 inches off the ground. I mean, even if you could increase that a little and maybe center that on what the average height is of a person, so you can maybe see through it.
See through it? I think we could probably look at doing something where we may add, it would have to add another pole to stabilize it or through it, and moving the address down to the brick. Because that's cladding right now, and the address is on the brick, is on the cladding.
Right.
And they have their address on every sign they do for 911 purposes.
But I'm talking about just by increasing the gap on the bottom, you'd be making the sign smaller. You have to make the sign a little smaller.
It would drop it down, but it would,
You know what I mean? So at least you could, you know, if you had a foot, you could look through the thing before you dart out into traffic.
well, we'll see when we move it back, how it looks then.
Right.
You know, maybe moving it back far enough will satisfy some of the concerns the board has.
So you wanted to know, since you could, so you would be able to address everything?
Well, let's address everything at
Yeah,
once,
all
yes.
at once. So the location, the position of the
Yes.
sign, and then I guess perhaps come back and just say, we propose that this change every minute or every 5
Okay.
minutes, just so we know.
So we'll ask for it.
Because then that'll go into part of the record.
Okay.
That
Yes.
way we're comfortable with how we plan to use that. And then I have a question. There's the day image and the night image.
Yes.
Is it that the light's gonna come on, or? I'm
Yes.
just curious.
So if you see where it's black, that's
Yeah.
your day image. So if there's a white background, like a white building,
Yeah.
the sign letters will be actually black. And so when it turns dusk or at night, they'll turn white.
So they're backlit?
They're internally lit backlit, yes.
Okay.
But it's not like you would normally see a bright white acrylic face light up, because it's got a natural diffuser. It's actually perforated black. It's got little tiny holes.
Oh.
And with the intense light piercing through those tiny holes, it shines white. But
I was just
it's like a
curious.
diffuser, so it's not a bright white.
Right. And that's the building mounted sign, and that complies with everything. So
Yes.
that I can see.
And that's the same letter style that'll be on top of that freestanding sign as well.
Right.
They mimic each other.
Right. And then just to, understand again,
Fine.
the variances that you're looking for, wayfinding signs are very specifically defined as only saying entrance, entry, exit, drive-up windows, and they're looking for wayfaring signs, wayfinding signs, that say car wash, exit, car wash free vacuums, and you have
Yes.
the arrows, and that's to direct people where to go.
Right. You can, if we said enter here, it could be to the vacuum cleaners or the car wash. So we're just a bit more specific.
That's the relief that you're asking
Yes.
for.
That
is
shouldn't
to-
be a problem.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's what Thank you.
And then the open sign,
Yes.
neon open sign seems to comply with your
Okay.
size
Yeah.
and everything
Yeah.
that's required for wall-mounted signs.
Okay.
And the others are just D1, D2, D3, the kiosks, and that's just
That's on the side of the building for the drive-through.
basically like Burger King.
Yes.
drive-through ordering.
Right, with the extra cash for payment, right,
Right, so.
rather than a teller.
So it seems like really it's.
That one there, yes. Yes.
Just the big one is, I think the board needs to know the exact distance from the curb.
Yes.
How far you can push it back. In your drawing, show where your lot line is, the sidewalk distance, the grassy area.
And the curb.
I
We'll-
think that would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll add all those setbacks from each of those locations.
Thank you.
All right?
And then let us know how that.
And the amount of times they'll change. Has the board ever given a stipulation with electronic message boards on how often they would like to see them change, or?
What's the Civic Center, do you know, Phil? That changes like every 30 seconds.
That's pretty quick.
DOT has
Probably
one
a-
variation, and I've seen it, and I just don't remember what it is,
Yeah.
but you're Right, it's like 1 minute so that people aren't, you know,
At the last
crashing
minute.
because they want to see the next
Right,
sentence.
yeah.
And I just don't know what it is, but maybe you can look.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Cite
We'll look, yeah.
You're like, I got this one.
It just eludes me right now, but I know I read it before, so I can find it.
When you get to the point where you're ready to physically, go determine how far we can push it in, push it out.
Yes.
I guess it'd be the best scenario to engage into utility inspection there, with the dig safe and so
Yes,
on.
oh, yeah.
That way you'd have that information
Sure.
to be shared as
Yeah.
well. To see where if you can move it or you can't move it or.
And that's probably one of the first things we'll do. We'll get the drawings, and then we'll call the GC out there, have them mark it, call it in quick, and see what kind of, and then this way you'll notify the municipality as well for water, and they'll be able to come in.
You're out there running around.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll table this.
Yes.
And we'll see you back here. And decide where we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna make a motion to table the Saxon sign report, commonly known as 194 Broad Street, and sign review until meeting of December 2024.
Second.
Just to clarify, are we approving all the other signs, it's just that one that's opposed?
No, we're gonna table the whole thing.
Okay.
You'll be on old business next time, so you should be in the beginning.
Okay, so all right, early next week to building department.
Last but not least. She's an encroachment permit for Corey Heyman, owner of tax map commonly known as 32 Horicon, seeking a curb cut for a new driveway apron. 50 meters.
Elliot Heyman, resident at 38 Horicon. We're applying for the curb cut at 32 Horicon. There are, I think, 30-plus houses on Horicon. All the houses on the north side of the street all have curb cuts. All the houses on the south side, except for 2, do not. One is on the corner of Crandall and Horicon, and he's on the side, and then the house that burned down is in the alley. But otherwise, everybody else has a curb cut. And it's like a curb cut.
My main reason for requesting it is, even though the house has access to the alley, I believe it would be increased safety if we were able to exit out onto Horicon. Many people walk the alley all hours of the day and night, and backing out into the alley could be very dangerous. People use the alley to take their small children on their bicycles up and down the alley. And as there's no sidewalk either to the east or the west of the Horicon entrance, there would be no danger to any pedestrians on that end. So I think it would be a great increase of safety to have access to both.
Great.
Do you want the site plan of where it is? Because I can give you. So this was the subdivision that was approved some time back. This is the lot that they're developing. The layout for the house shows the alleyway back here with an entry and a garage door coming in here so they can come in, drive back out, not have to back out into the alley. It's a straight through garage with garage doors on both sides.
I'm jealous.
Right? Yeah, right. But it's not a
So that's for the new house?
This is for the proposed house. Yeah, we have the building permit ready to submit this week. Actually, it's going to come in today, but I couldn't get it.
We'll do first go to public. Do you mind if I see?
No.
Is there anybody that would like to comment? Sure. Good evening.
Hi, I'm George Knapp. I live across the street from the new lot, so it kind of shocking for me to have these, this new lot just created, and the first thing they do is look for a variance. Nothing has been built there. It was understood, anybody there, they would park and, come access from the alley to the new place. What is the purpose of having an alleyway? I guess you'd have to ask, is it safety reasons? Are there aesthetic reasons? And again, other things that are cost to put in curb cuts, that type of thing. So trying to, aesthetically, for us to be looking at a driveway with cars that are coming in and out, is not wonderful. And we have a great, little neighborhood, and we pretty much opposed this whole division when it first came through because of some of these issues, and here we are starting to try to bend the rules already to get a new curb cut.
This is not a variance.
Well, I'm sorry, well,
This is not a variance.
okay, we'll get your approval.
And this is just a advisory opinion to
Yes, I got
to the
that.
common council.
So I would request that you don't advise that this goes through. Safety factors is totally, I would look at it from a different point of view. This street is parking all over. We got Kensington Court Apartments, there's just, it's a mob scene parking there. We got kids walking across these streets all day, we got Kensington Road. It's, again, when all those cars come in and park, again, it is dangerous. So kids could dart in and out of these places. If we have more spots taken up by the residents of the new, subdivision, it's just going to make it more difficult. And people backing in and out of there, they're not going to see kids either. Whether you say the alleyway or the street, it's a busy street. It's a beautiful street, and I just think safety-wise, you're asking for a lot more problems with kids, who walk up and down that street all day, bikes that go up and down that street all day. They don't just stay in the alleyway. So I think, cost-wise, it's not smart to put another curb cut in there. From the aesthetic point of view, it does not make it appealing. And then I think safety is the biggest issue of it all. And then for people to, make a subdivision, the first thing they do is they want to, some sort of permission for it to have,
To put a driveway in to access their lot.
Well, they're supposed to.
Are all the houses on the north side of the street, or do they all have driveways that come on Horathon Avenue?
Every single one.
Every single, yeah.
Mr. Knapp, you have a curb cut onto the same street.
I don't have an alleyway.
Okay.
So that's why there's an alleyway. Why is there an alleyway? You have to ask yourself that question.
I'll also point out that there's no sidewalk on that side, so kids don't walk on that side.
No, that's not true, just because there's a sidewalk, there's less of it,
I would
but.
beg to disagree because I live in that neighborhood. And I would walk my children back and forth to school, and we specifically avoided then that side of the street because there is no sidewalk.
Well, it doesn't mean that all the kids adhere to that, so unless you have a police
I understand
guard
that
there telling them not to go there.
I think that your safety issue is misguided.
No, I strongly disagree.
And I take exception to the fact that you said the entire neighborhood was against this, because I'm in that neighborhood and I was for it.
Well, I didn't see you here.
They've done nothing but improve the property, the neighborhood, the aesthetics of the neighborhood. They've got approval to build a house, which I know you object to, and they want a curb cut.
Right.
So I think at some point, you've got to put personal feelings aside and just accept the fact that there's going to be a house built there. And I think the curb.
Well, I haven't said a single word of it since then, until this came by. Okay. And the first thing they do is try to put in, get a variance.
Not a variance. No variance.
Well, excuse me, whatever.
Not a variance.
Driveway to a single-family home.
The home's not there. There's no home.
They're getting a building permit to build.
There's no home there now, so they can make any changes they want to come in through the alleyway, like other people do. That's when they did this, that's what the
Most
assumption.
of those other people also have.
There's only one house that comes in on the alley.
Comfortable the fire department
With
or
their alleyway.
ambulance would be if the only entrance to the home was through an alleyway. Because I don't know how big that alleyway is, but I don't know how.
It's very narrow.
I don't know how well a fire truck would fit down it or the ambulance. So I don't think that the fire department would be comfortable with having the home essentially the only access being an alleyway. I think that would be a huge issue.
Is there any historical information that shows that there's been people getting run over or kids getting hit or anything of that nature?
If the gentleman is done with his public comment, I'd like to go next, please.
Sir, are you all set?
Well, I would like to respond if there's something.
Sure. So, Bill Kanzler, Code Officer, just to address some of these concerns, there is absolutely a code requirement that if you're going to put a new home in, there needs to be access to a public street, and an alley does not suffice for that. For fire apparatus access, you need to have. It is a code requirement. At this point, it's a formality because I do have the building permit application in my house, for the house at the department. You absolutely need to have egress from the public right-of-way onto the property. You need it for fire apparatus access, you also need it for egress paths. So it's a code requirement that this property have some form of curb cut.
So, to respond to that, why did they allow the property to be subdivided if they didn't have these things to begin with?
Every curb cut has to be approved by the common council. It's a.
No, that's not what I'm saying. He's talking about fire access.
Right, but a curb cut.
So when they get the
curb cut
permit-
in the city has to be approved by the common council, which in turn, when the city receives a curb cut application, which every curb cut, whether it's a new build, wherever it is, because part of that is city property. So we have to receive an application, the common council asks for an advisory approval from the planning board, then it goes back to common council, which you could absolutely say your concerns with them as well. They are the end all be all because it's public property.
Right.
At the end of their driveway, essentially it's the public right of way. So it is a formality to a degree because every single curb cut affects public property, which is why common council has to approve it. So this is just the procedure for every curb cut in the city, new house, it doesn't matter, every single time.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, would you like to start, Mr. Lanfear? Or, I'm sorry, Ms. Lanfear?
I think it's a very practical solution to the way that property needs to be situated, or the house needs to be situated on the property. And my kids grew up in those alleys, and cars in those alleys are a nightmare, so I think it's a good solution. I don't have any issues with it. There's plenty of precedent for curb cuts along Horicon.
Thank you. Mr. Lanfear?
I don't have any more comments so far. I'm good.
Thank you. Ms. Colvin?
No questions and comments. I just hope you keep up your Halloween decorations.
Thank you. Mr. Baldwin?
No, after looking at the site, I can see where Mr. Nab is. He's got a beautiful home there, and there was a vacant lot there. But it's been approved that they can build a house there. And that alley, I drove through there today, it's pretty narrow. And I can't not say, give a curb cut. You know, I think that you've got permission to build a house there. It's gone through all the proper channels, and that's the next step. It's definitely going to affect your view, and I'm sorry, you've been there for a long time, but it's all up to code, and it's the way things are.
Mr. Lanfear?
I concur with that. I know originally your concerns was aesthetic, but we're kind of past that point. I don't think the curb cut's gonna alter your view at all of it. I live right across the street, basically from those alleyways. A lot of people are putting fences up on both sides, and I sometimes question how cars can make that 90-degree curve off of it or back out into it when everybody sees me putting fences on it. So I think this to me is really kind of a no-brainer. So I have no further comment.
I concur with everything you said. All right, with that, I will make a motion. Advisory committee, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board hereby submits the following advisory opinion to the Common Council, that they should look with favor on the application of Corey Heyman, owner of tax map number 302.15-6-6.2, commonly known as 32 Horicon Avenue, seeking a curb cut for a new driveway apron as presented at the planning board meeting of November 5th, 2024.
To comply with the code requirements regarding the apron and concrete.
5-foot concrete.
So, thank you.
This would go on the next, it will be on the next common council agenda, just so everyone will know. I'll make sure I come back for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you for staying late for us.
Tough to be the last one.
My fault.
My kids were
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting of planning board November 5th, 2024. Second. Thank you. All in favor?